Good afternoon, everyone. Today is May 9th, 2023. We will formally open this meeting of the Illinois Board of Review. Before we proceed to the list of cases to be heard today, several preliminary matters. Everyone has been placed on mute just to eliminate the unnecessary background noise and chatter that tends to interfere with the operation of the board hearing. And so as your case is called, you will be unmuted. Please indicate if you have any special concerns or requests. Please go to the chat section and put in your chat. Staff will be monitoring the chat to respond to you. And if need be, we will stop and address your issue if it's required that. Also, excuse me, I would ask that everyone who's present who has an attorney with you, if you would pay close attention to your instructions from your attorney. He or she understands what needs to be done and would ask that you just answer the questions that are being asked. So that'll make it easier for us to proceed. There are breakout rooms made available. So if there's a need for an individual to confer with his attorney, please indicate that. And Mr. Wade, our administrator, will place you in a breakout room, give you an opportunity to speak privately to your client. That's the easiest, most effective way to do this. We may also have interpreters. I'm not certain if we do. That often tends to create a lag in communication. So if we have an interpreter, we've asked all interpreters to interpret the proceedings as we move along. So we have to all be patient, ask our question, let the interpreter state the issue and the language, and then respond. Then you ask your next question, or you respond as need be. So we need an extra level of patience when that's done. The board and the other panelists will introduce themselves before we proceed, after which I will ask the law department's representative to go through the list and provide any preliminary matters that have been resolved or continuous requests or withdrawals. And every person who's here who is attached as an appellant, please pay close attention to the list of cases that are being read off. If your name is called or the address which is associated with your name, if it's identified as moot or moot complied, that means it's resolved for today and you are permitted to leave the hearing. Your hearing matter has been resolved. If there's additional information that you need, type a request into the chat section and we will attempt to have someone from the administration to respond to you. That way we don't have people shouting out and interrupting the hearing as we're moving forward. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Kenneth Woodson, board chair.
Ralph Pincus, board member.
Steve Pettit, board member.
Roger S. Tennant, senior board member.
Beverly Penn, board member.
Ken Washington, board member.
Cortez Patton, board member.
Brian McSherry, board counsel.
Richard Wade, board administrator.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we will call on the law department. Is there a spokesperson for the law department today?
Yes, good afternoon, board members. Jim Kelly on behalf of the city.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kelly.
So I can run through, I believe some of my colleagues may have other matters, but just preliminarily, the first one would be number 1, HA 2022-000535, 3428 North 23rd Street, Vernon Anastasio. That's moot complied.
Moot complied. Thank you very much.
The next one is number 2, HA 2021-004300, 2030 East York Street, Paige Randazzo, moot complied.
Moot complied. Thank you.
Number 8, HA 2021-002712, 3218 Germantown Avenue, Mohammed Qureshi, moot complied.
Moot complied. Thank you.
Number 9, HA 2022-001441, 3220 St. Vincent Street, Shi Jin Ni, moot complied.
Moot complied. Thank you.
Number 18, HA 2021-002715, 4101 North Reese Street, Luz Figueroa, moot complied.
Moot complied. Thank you.
Number 19, HA 2021-002779, 8601 Frankfurt Avenue, Anne Marie Brown, moot.
Moot. Thank you.
Number 26, HA 2022-002001, 918 Wharton Street, Helen Chung. That's a continuance request that the city is not opposing.
Okay, please note that it's continued.
Number 27, HA 2021-002724, 1128 Sydney Street, Leanne Pittman, moot complied.
Thank you. Move complied.
Number 29, HA 2021-002685, 2148 Homer Street, Romaine Giddings, moot complied.
Move complied. Okay. Thank you.
Number 30, HA 2021-002343, 623 DuPont Street, Jacqueline Doucette, moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Number 33, HA 2022-004873, 1443 North 8th Street, NHA Development LLC. That's been settled with an agreement. City affirmed with a $500 fine.
Okay. Is the appellant present? NHA Development LLC, is anyone present representing that entity? Okay. We will then poll the board regarding HA-2022-004873, 1443 North 8th Street, NHA Development LLC, DBA NHA Development LLC. City affirmed per agreement with a $500 fine. Mr. Pincus?
City affirmed per agreement with a $500 fine to be paid.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement with the $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement with $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement, $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement, $500 fine.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I'd just like to go back to
Okay.
case number 29. I have withdrawn on my paper.
Yes, the
Paper
status,
read moot complied. Which one are we using?
using moot complied, it was read into the record.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. Mr. Kelly?
Number 34,
34.
HA 2021-001350, 1416 South 56th Street. That's a continuance that the city is also not opposing.
Okay, that's a continuous request.
Yes.
Okay, continuous will be noted. Also, please note that there's a timeliness matter that needs to be addressed prior to coming back to us. I'm not sure who's handling that matter, but just note for the record.
Okay. Number 36, HA 2022-002236, 6123 West Passyunk Avenue, Jacqueline Dispense. That's a joint continuance request.
Joint continuous request. Okay,
Yes.
who's the other party?
Vincent Melchiori for the petitioner.
Okay, thank you, sir. You confer join the city with this continuous request?
Yes,
Okay, all right, thank you. So noted.
hang on.
Next one is number 38, HA 2022-002208, 3000 Richmond Street, Alan Penner, moot complied.
Will comply, thank you.
And the last one that I have is number 39, HA 2022-001455, 4606 to 4608 Frankfurt Avenue Real Estate LLC, moot.
Moot, okay, thank you. All righty. Does anyone else have any matters for the record before we proceed?
Yes, good afternoon, Board. Dejby
Afternoon.
Davis on behalf of the City of Philadelphia. I want to bring to the board's attention what are cases 4 through 7 on the list.
Yes,
The city has come to an agreement with the appellant. I will read each case and the terms of that agreement. With regards to case number 4,
Oh, before you do that, Ms. Davis, just one question for you. The settlement agreement, will it be the same language for each one?
yes, it will be. And I also
Okay.
forwarded the agreement to the board as well.
Okay,
The agreements,
so
sorry.
Okay, so for the record, would you just read the addresses and the appeal numbers, and then after you've done that, then read the language? for the
Okay,
agreement?
yes. Okay, with regards to case number 4, address 2219 Emerald Street, appeal number HA 2022-001335. The city has entered an agreement for city affirm with a payment of $500. With regards to case number 5, address 2401 Frankfurt Avenue, appeal number HA 2022-001443. City has entered into agreement for city affirm with a $500 payment. For case number 6, address 2414 Frankfurt Avenue, appeal number HA 2022-001745. City has entered into an agreement for city affirm with a $500 payment. And for case number 7, 5904 Germantown Avenue, appeal number HA 2022-001318. The city has entered into an agreement for city affirm with a $500 payment.
Okay, and that's $500 for each, in each
For
case,
each
correct?
case, yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we will poll the board as follows. HA-2022-001335, 2219 Emerald Street. HA-2022-001443, 2401 Frankfurt Avenue. HA-2022-001745, 2414 Frankfurt Avenue. HA-2022-001318, 5904 Germantown Avenue. City affirm with a $500 fine in each matter.
Mr. Chair, should you add per agreement? Or
Oh,
is it-
my apologies. Yes, per agreement. City affirm, $500 fine in each matter per agreement.
City affirmed for each of these 4 matters per agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirm with these 4 matters per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirm per the agreement for all matters with the $500 fine.
City affirmed for each matter per agreement with $500 fine.
City affirm per agreement, $500 fine for each one of those 4 cases.
City affirm per agreement, $500 fine for each of those 4 matters.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Okay,
and now I would like to draw the board's attention to what is listed as case number 32 on the list.
32. Okay.
Yes, appeal number HA 2022-004858, 852 North 41st Street. Appellant name Davis Judge C. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that name wrong. But with regards to this matter has been marked moot.
Moot. Oh, okay.
Yes, and the
Alright.
reason why, if I may, this matter has been marked moot because the basis of this appeal has already been adjudicated before the board before the violation was issued essentially in error. And right now there's an appeal pending with regards to the initial violation.
Oh, so we may see that actual address come back to us again.
Yes, but this is just, this was an error on L&I's part. So the issue is moot because it's already been decided by the board.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Jeffrey Cohen for the City of Philadelphia.
Afternoon.
If I could draw the board's attention to cases 11 through 17 on the board's list. These are cases involving Ames LLC. The
Yes.
appellate counsel is Jared Klein.
Yes.
Specifically, appeal number 13, HA 2022-005128. That appeal is moot. The underlying license violation notice has been withdrawn, so that can be disposed of as moot. The other 6 appeals, however, per an email that I sent to this board a few days ago, the city is actually requesting to bifurcate the proceedings. We would like to address untimeliness today, but if at all possible, because of the length and complexity of proceedings, we would like to ask for a special session hearing to be granted for the remaining 6 appeals.
Okay, let's do this. Is Mr. Klein present?
Yes, I am, Chair.
Okay, so just if you could put your appearance on the record, please.
Certainly. Good afternoon. Jared Klein on behalf of Ames LLC.
Thank you very much. I think what we'll do in this matter is, given the nature of the cases that are before us, we will proceed with arguing, have limited testimony today only on a matter of timeliness, and then we will agree on a next scheduled hearing. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm not suggesting that it may not be a special just for this, but we will select a next hearing date for this, okay?
Understood, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we'll call it in order, and we'll hear only the
Vote
issue
on
of
number
time.
13, the moot one.
Yes,
Very good.
Thank you.
number 13, 1432 North 57th Street is noted as moot for the record, okay? And so
Thank
we'll
you.
call these in order, and then when we get to these block of cases, we'll address time in this matter before we schedule the next hearing.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else? No one else? Okay,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
hello.
yes.
Sorry, thank you. May it please the board, Leonard F. Reuter for the city of Philadelphia. I just wanted to confirm there were a few cases where I believe there were withdrawals. I just wanted to confirm that that's now that they have now been withdrawn from the list.
Which ones are those?
So first one would be number 3, HA 2021-001587 for 231 Monroe Street. Mr. McClure indicated to the board that they were withdrawing that appeal.
Okay, so noted for the day. I didn't have it on our list as that, but now it's noted as withdrawn.
Yeah, he sent an email earlier. I think it was late last week.
Okay.
You also should have received a withdrawal for number 25 on the list, HA.
Mr. Reuter, if I may, excuse me, since you said he sent an email to the board, I guess Mr. Wade would have received it, and we ought to have confirmation from the board they have it.
I believe he's
then forwarded.
Okay. I think that's he's good. Thank you, Mr. Pincus. I think he just noted that he has it.
It was forwarded to the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
The sheets weren't changed. Okay.
Also, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, what's next? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the next one would be number 25 on the list, HA 2021-004323. That's 1718 Fairmount Avenue. Mr. Boland, on behalf of the appellant, again sent an email to the board that appeal was withdrawn.
Okay, thank you. So noted is withdrawn.
Now, one that I am not sure of, because the attorney contacted me and said that he was no longer pursuing the appeal, and you can let me know. Number 20 on the list, HA 2021-002735, 67 Column Street, COLLOM Street. Mr. Ron Patterson contacted me and indicated that they were not going to pursue that appeal. If he has not, I did not receive an email. I mean, I received an email from him personally that he was withdrawing the appeal, but I didn't see anything. I wasn't copied on anything to the board. So if he has not withdrawn it, we would ask that the matter go forward, at which time we'll ask that it be non-prossed.
I have nothing in regards of a formal withdrawal to the board.
Okay,
Is Mr.
then
Patterson present today? Do you know?
I do not believe so. I don't see anybody from his firm either.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, that's an intent to
That's an
cease
intent to
listed
cease.
on our document. Yes.
yeah. So, Mr. Rudder, were you the attorney for the city prosecuting this matter?
Yes, and we'll go forward on it today. I don't want to presage what might happen. I mean, I think they're just
Okay.
simply not going to appear. That's all.
Okay, all right, well, we'll just call it in order then.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if not, I do have a few matters I just want to raise myself that we discussed in executive session. Number 10, HA-2021-004380, 2748 North 15th Street, Harwell Properties. Who's representing the city in this?
Good afternoon, Amy Skiles on behalf of the city.
Yeah, Ms. Giles, good afternoon. Two matters. One is one of timeliness, and the other is an issue of legal representation. Is anyone present representing this appellant, Parwell Properties? Anyone present? Okay,
I'll check service.
yes. Just want to make sure that no one's trying to raise their hand or otherwise gain access. And actually, Ms. Giles, you probably can just dismiss this for lack of timely appeal.
Yes,
So-
it was about a month
Yes,
untimely.
yep. Mr. Wade will confirm in a moment that service.
Notice was sent to the address listed on the appeal.
Okay, so Ms. Giles, what is your preference?
Yes, as the board has mentioned, this appeal was the NOV was issued August 11th, 2021. It wasn't appealed till October 11th of 2021. It's over 30 days untimely, so we ask that the appeal be dismissed as it was untimely.
Okay, so noted that the appeal was not timely applied for or submitted, so therefore it's not being heard today. It's dismissed. Okay, and in addition to the appellant must be represented by legal counsel, it appears that it's LLC.
That is
Thank
correct.
you. All right.
Thank you.
And so the next matter that I just want to bring to your attention, you may not have dealt with yet. HA-2021-004-234, 1427 Germantown Avenue. I'm showing that as withdrawn. Just want to make sure that I'm accurate with representing the city. We were noted as withdrawn. No one says anything different. The same thing with HA-2021-002-721, 2406 North 29th Street, Patrick Hanna. We're noting as withdrawn. Does anyone have a different representation? Okay, that would be, should be noted as withdrawn. Okay. Number 31, HA-2021-005-249, 541 North 23rd Street. Who's handling that matter? Who's handling that matter on behalf of the city?
I am Chairman Whitson,
Ms. Costello?
Mary Costello, on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Yes, we have an issue here of standing. Is Daniel Bowen present? There's two different names in terms of the responsible party and the owner.
Right.
Is there counsel representing this matter?
Not that I am aware of. No, I do not believe that they have counsel.
Hold on, just give me 1 second. There was some
Okay.
sort of.
May I be heard? I'm the property owner.
Pardon me, which matter are you referencing, ma'am?
The present matter, 541 North 23rd.
And your relationship to that property?
I'm the property owner.
Oh, you're the property owner?
Yeah.
Oh, what is your name?
Kathleen Creamer Clem.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, ma'am, before you, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give in this matter be the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now who is Daniel Bowen, ma'am?
Daniel Bowen is the builder of the roof deck, and he's the owner of Precision Decks. So
Okay.
when we got the notice of violation for the pergola, he filed an appeal on behalf of the property. And he had logged on earlier. I see his name in a square. I don't know if he can hear us or not.
Okay, well, that's okay. Well, that was the issue. We wanted to clear up the distinction between Daniel Bowen and the owner. So that's why we asked it. We'll call it in regular order, okay? We'll call you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have another matter, number 35. HA 2021-004489, 1508 West Nedro Avenue, Pierre Gaston. Who's handling that for the city?
Chairman Woodson and Mary Costello on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, and I think I see Mr. Pierre Gaston. Please unmute, sir, if you can. Okay, sir. Are you Mr. Pierre Gaston related to 1508 West Nedro Avenue? I can't hear you, sir. Can't hear you. Something's wrong with your volume or something. Can't hear you. Mr. Wade, anything we can do to assist Mr. Milrero?
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
Phil, I'm gonna put him in a breakout room with you. If you can try and contact him by phone.
Mr. Gaston, we're gonna put you in a breakout room with our IT person to try to help you resolve your matter. And Ms. Costello, when that's done, we'll bring you back.
Okay.
Okay? All right, thank you. Okay, that's all of the preliminary matters. What we will do.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah. Yes.
I would just like, I was able to just come to an agreement with this case. I would like to draw the board's attention to case number 37 on the list.
Okay.
Appeal number HA 2022-002425. The appellant is KGKS Inc. So the city was able to come to an agreement with the appellant. I believe the appellant's attorney just confirmed their withdrawal of this appeal that was sent to the board, and I believe Mr. Wade was also CC'd on that email as well.
Okay. Is the attorney present today?
No, the attorney is not present today.
Okay, but you're on the record, you're stating that in fact this matter is being withdrawn. By
Yes,
the
and
appellant.
yep, and the attorney has contacted the board and Mr. Wade confirming that withdrawal.
What number is this?
It is case number 37 on the list, appeal number HA 2022.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, okay.
Mr. Wade, if you can confirm that, we will then note it.
I haven't, was the email just sent?
Yes,
to
I'm
David?
sorry.
Okay, I haven't received it just yet, but I can confirm it
Okay.
when it comes through.
Okay.
But in the moment, Ms. Davis, we would assume that you're speaking on behalf of the court. And as an officer of the court, we will accept on the record that this has been withdrawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Any other preliminary matters before we go to the list? If not, Mr. Wade, let's start us from whatever's available, what's remaining from the top.
Okay, there was that one intent to seek case that I overlooked that Mr. Reuter brought up. I don't know if you want me to call that first in case something needed.
Yes, yes, let's go ahead and do that. Yep.
Okay. This is case number 20, hearing appeal number HA 2021-002735, 67 Column Street, Apex Properties Unlimited.
Okay.
Represented by Ron Patterson.
Okay, Mr. Reuter, is Mr. Ron Patterson, anyone from his office present?
I do not see Mr. Patterson or anyone from his office. And I can represent to the board that I reached out to Mr. Patterson about this appeal a week or so ago, and he indicated that they were no longer going to pursue the appeal. He has not been able to contact the client, who he believes is actually probably out of business. So we would ask that the appeal, since he didn't formally request a withdrawal, but nobody is here, we would ask that the matter be marked city affirmed.
Service was made.
Service was
To
made.
both Mr. Patterson and the appellant.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pincus, could you give me a time, please?
It's 2:13 p.m.
2:13 p.m. We will then poll the board regarding HA 2021 glasses. Okay, -002735, 67 Collins Street, Apex Properties Unlimited. City affirmed lack of appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed lack of appearance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, all righty. Okay, Mr. Wade, where do we go next?
I did just receive the email for the withdrawal for case number 37.
Oh, you did? Okay, so noted. It's withdrawn.
All right, that brings us to case number 11 through 11, 12, and 14 through 17.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, let's, actually, Mr. Wade, I guess you will need to read each one in, and then we will. Have it
Okay.
open.
Case number 11, hearing appeal number HA 2022-005125, 138 South 57th Street, Ames, LLC. Case number 12, hearing appeal number HA 2022-005127, 883 Belmont Ave, Ames, LLC. Case number 14, hearing appeal number HA 2022-005129, 1432 North 57th Street, Ames, LLC. Case number 15, hearing appeal number HA 2022-005130, 6641 Lansdowne Ave, Ames, LLC. Case number 16, hearing appeal number HA 2022-005131, 109 North 63rd Street, Ames, LLC. And case number 17, hearing appeal number HA 2022-005133, 846 North 44th Street, Ames, LLC.
Okay, thank you very much. What I'd like to do in this matter, given that we've previously agreed that we will restrict this portion of the case to the issue of timeliness of the appeals. So what I'll have the counsel for the city as well as Mr. Klein, who represents the appellant, to just give their opening statements. And I'd like gentlemen to, let's focus on each case individually in terms of the timeliness arguments, because there may be some nuanced differences that we'll have to consider. So let's do that. And then we will render a decision as to whether we proceed on any one of them or all of them. Okay?
Understood.
All right, so Mr. Cohen?
Actually, before we proceed, Inspector Jose Ramos is here, or was here just in case we were going to address the merits. Can he be excused?
Yes.
Thank you. And actually, the city, each of these cases has a building permit that was issued to Ames LLC, and on each of those permits is the same address where the license violation notices were sent. So the city actually would call Jose Figueredo, who is a supervisor of the Audits and Investigations Unit. And Jose will then go through the city's records showing this is a valid address for Ames LLC.
Okay. Will he also be prepared to give us
factual
dates?
basis for untimeliness?
Yes, and he will give us the dates that things were mailed and et cetera, corresponding?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Is he present?
Mr. Figueredo was on the chat. If we could have him turn on his camera and we'll swear him in.
Okay. Mr. Figueredo, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Actually, before we do begin with the city's case, if Mr. Klein wants to give an opening statement. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to bulldoze you, Mr. Klein.
Yes.
No, that's okay. Yeah, and what you'll hear, I have a witness from Ames LLC who will be able to address the board shortly. None of these notices were received by Ames LLC. When the only notice they did receive was an emailed notice of intent to cease issuing permits. And within 7 days of receiving that was when they lodged all the appeals for the underlying violations, which they never received original copies of. So that we think that when the board hears from my client, the intent of the taxpayer who was not represented by counsel was pretty clear to appeal all these violations, though they may not have technically done it the most appropriate way.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cohen?
With that, the city would call Jose Figueredo.
Yes. Please proceed.
And Inspector, or Supervisor, sorry, you've been sworn. If you could briefly tell us how many years you've worked for LNI and in what capacity?
A little over 6 years, in different capacities. I've been a building inspector. I've also worked in plans examination and most recently working with the Audits and Investigations Unit.
And if the board would permit me to share my screen, I'm going to share the exhibits packet that I have previously emailed to council and the board. And Supervisor, just tell me that if you can see the PDF that's being shared on my screen.
I can.
All right, let's jump to page 19 in this PDF. What is this document that I have on screen?
That is basically it's a notice that goes out with the building permit once it's been issued.
So who grabs or applies for the building permit?
Typically, it could be several people. Either the contractor could submit an application. It might be the owner. It could be an expediter, someone who's representing whoever's doing the work, developing there.
And is this particular building permit for the property or the parcel at 109 North 63rd Street?
Yes, it is.
And is this something that LNI keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
What's the date that this was issued?
This was issued on February 1st, 2021.
And what's the contractor listed on this permit?
Ames LLC.
And what's the contact address for that contractor that's listed on the permit?
1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19123.
And just for the record, all of the highlights in this document are added later. I added them in order to highlight certain things. They're not part of the original document. Now, when a permit is issued, does LNI typically go out and inspect the work site?
Yes, when inspections are requested, an inspector goes out and performs an inspection.
Now I'm going to jump to page 22 in this packet. What is this document that I have on screen?
This is an inspection report for the building permit, CP 2020-007066.
Just for the record, is that also for 109 North 63rd Street?
Yes, it is.
And what's the date on this inspection report?
November 6, 2021.
And is this some of the communications that LNI has between LNI, the supervising authority, and the contractor, the entity that's actually performing construction?
Yes, this is a report that's, from my understanding, the system automatically generates following inspection being processed.
And what's the address for this contractor on this report?
1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor.
Now I'm going to jump to, you'll please excuse me, page 23 in the packet. Don't even need to jump, just go down one. And is this another inspection report for this same work site, same permit?
Yes.
And is it the same 1033 North 2nd address?
Same address.
And what date?
November 18th, 2021.
And I'm going to jump now to page 34 in the packet. And what is this licensing violation notice?
This is typically when violations have been assigned, an LVN, a licensing violation notice is generated and sent out to the responsible party.
And in this particular case, with this notice that's on screen, who's the responsible party?
Ames LLC.
And to what address was this sent?
1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor.
And around when was this sent?
This was May 6, 2022.
So there's,
around May, early May.
So like several months after the inspection reports were created.
Correct.
Now, members of the board, should we at this point stop and do a cross, or should I continue with the other properties?
Oh, no, if this is the extent of your discussion on that address, then I would ask that you give Mr. the counsel for the appellant opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Figueredo on that address.
Okay.
So that way we can keep everything as tight as possible.
Then in that case, the city would stop its argument here with respect to 109 North 63rd Street. Mr. Klein, do you want me to keep sharing my screen or should I stop?
No, that's okay, Mr. Cohen. I think I only have two questions
Okay,
for
Mr. Klein,
Figueroa.
before you, yeah, Mr. Klein, before you ask those questions, Mr. Cohen, will you have any other witnesses for this address?
Not for this address, but essentially we're going to be repeating this 5 other times for the
But
other.
it's okay. I just wanted to see for this address.
Just for this address, it's just Mr. or Supervisor Figueredo.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Klein, please proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Figueroa, did you or are you aware of whether any mail that was sent to the 1033 North Second Street address was returned as undeliverable?
Not that I'm aware of.
And this might not be the specific unit that you're involved with, but are you aware of whether Ames LLC responded to emails from AIU providing them the information that was requested in these licensing violation notices?
Mike, let me check.
I may have an objection to that, but I'd like counsel to maybe clarify what information are you talking about?
These violations that were issued asked for subcontractor and contractor information. My understanding is that Ames LLC provided that information directly to AIU.
Then I would actually object to that because that's getting into the merits that we should save for the special session hearing.
Okay, only question I have though is that, Mr. Klein, are you suggesting that there should not be a violation?
Yes.
Okay, but the point is we may never get there if the issue of timeliness hasn't been established. Okay, I understand.
I don't have anything further for Mr. Figueroa. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. All righty, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. I'd actually like to proceed to the next property, 138 South 57th Street, jumping to page 41 in the packet. Supervisor Figueredo, what is this document that I have on screen?
This is a notice that a commercial building permit has been issued.
Is this for 138 South 57th Street?
Yes, it is.
And when was this issued?
November 9th, 2020.
And who's the contractor and what's their contact address?
Ames LLC, and the address is 1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor.
And jumping to page 48, is this an inspection report for that same location, that same permit?
Yes, it is.
When was this printed?
February 10th of 2021.
To what contractor at what address?
Ames LLC, 1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor.
And hold on just one more moment. Jumping now to page 60 in the packet, what is this licensing violation notice that I have on screen?
So this is a violation notice with case CF 2021 026112.
And was this also issued to Ames LLC?
Yes, it was at 1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor.
And what's the date on this violation notice?
April 10th, 2021.
And generally, if you're an entity in the city of Philadelphia that acts as a contractor, is it your responsibility to keep your notice address up to date with L&I?
Yes, it's their account.
And would that notice address then be pulled for their permits, pulled for inspection reports, for other notices, et cetera?
Yes, everything pulls out of that account. That's the contact information, email addresses, phone numbers, mailing addresses, so forth and so on.
Thank you very much. I would present Supervisor Figueredo for cross.
Any cross, Mr. Klein?
No, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If you'll permit me now to move on to 1432 North 57th Street. We're going to jump in the packet to page 67. And what is this document that I have on screen?
This is a notice of the issuance of a commercial building permit.
What's the date on this permit?
January 29th, 2021.
What's the contractor and their notice address on this permit?
Ames LLC, and their address is 1033 North 2nd Street, 5th floor.
And jumping to page 70, what is this document that I have on screen?
This is an inspection report.
For same permit, same property location?
Correct.
What's the date on this inspection report?
December 15th, 2021.
Was this also sent to Ames LLC at 1033 North 2nd?
Yes, it was.
One more moment. What is this that I have on screen currently?
Violation notice.
Is it specifically a violation notice for the same property that we're talking about?
No, this one
Let me
is.
back it up. Is it a
Yeah.
violation notice for the property at 1432 North 57th Street?
Correct.
Was it also issued to Ames LLC at that same 1033 North 2nd address?
Yes, it was.
What's the date of this notice?
February 16th, 2022.
Thank you. And is there any cross-examination?
Well, before you get to Mr. Klein, I do have a question for you. When was the appeal dated for that address? Or how you want to introduce that information?
I believe I can answer that. On page 78 in the packet, we have a date stamp of December 15th, 2022. The city's table of contents also has basically the dates or the relevant dates at issue for the license violation notices and the appeals. I believe, and Mr. Klein can correct me if I'm wrong, all of the appeals are stamped with December 15th, 2022.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
Mr. Klein, had you planned to introduce that at a different way, or because I'd like to have that date attached to each address?
Oh, then we can, Mr. Klein, if you wouldn't mind, we can go back to North 63rd Street very
We
briefly.
can, if it's helpful, Mr. Cohen, we can stipulate that all the
Actually,
appeals
that would
were
be-
filed
that'd be a
December
lot quicker.
15th,
Thank you.
2022.
Perfect. Okay, December 15th, 2022. Thank you.
Sure. We can also stipulate that the mailing address is the same, Mr. Cohen, across all the violations, if that makes things easier for you.
Actually, yes. Have you reviewed the building permits and the inspection reports that are in the city's packet?
I'm sorry, to whom are you directing that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Klein.
Yes.
I'm trying to tease out whether there's another possible stipulation just based on the building permits and the inspection reports. Have you had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Would you stipulate, or would your client stipulate that for each of the building permits and for each of the inspection reports, they also have the same 1033 North 2nd Street address?
Yes, we can stipulate that that is the address that appears on all of the permits. Yes.
Okay, then at that point, the city doesn't need to go further into the other properties, but I would.
Well, except that we want the dates to be on the record, so we will want to
Okay.
hear those. And so, Mr. Klein, you were up for cross-examination on North 57th Street if you have any.
No,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Klein.
I probably won't have any specific questions other than the ones I've already asked for this.
Okay, thank you.
Well, in that case, Mr. Klein, would you be all right with, we'll just jump to the building permits and inspection reports, get the dates into the record. And then if you have any more questions of Mr. Figueredo, we can do that.
Certainly.
Okay,
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
then I think we were on page 78. So let's jump to page 82. This is commercial building permit for 6641 Lansdowne Ave. And the date is January 12th of 2021. And 85, page 85 in the city's packet, an inspection report under that permit, December 13th of 2021.
Okay, just one moment. Building the permit was 1/12/2021,
That's correct.
and the initial inspection was which date?
December 13th, 2021.
Okay. All right, and the violation notice.
One moment. May 20th of 2022.
May 20th, 2022. Okay. All righty. And of course, 12/15/2022 is the appeal date.
And jumping now to 846 North 44th Street. This is page 107 in the packet. This is the building permit for 846 North 44th. It was issued on March 18th of 2021.
Okay.
And then page 110 in the packet, the inspection report for that same property, that same permit, issued on July 21st of 2021. And then page 116 in the packet, this is the violation notice, March 23rd of 2022.
Okay. Ready?
All right, moving on to 883 Belmont Ave. On page 123 in the packet, we have a building permit issued August 10th, 2021. And we don't have an inspection report printed out for this permit. What we do have is the license violation notice on page 126. The license violation notice is dated February 11th of 2022.
Okay.
And Mr. Klein, do you have any questions for Mr. Figueredo?
I do not. I do not. Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Okay. All right.
All right. Then city rests at this point, although I would save a little time if necessary for rebuttal. So Mr. Figueredo, please stick around.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Klein.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I would like to call Natalie Abovitz, if she could unmute herself and go on video. That would be helpful.
Okay.
All right. Can you all hear me and see me?
Yes. Would you raise your right hand, ma'am? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Would you, before we proceed, just restate your name and spell your last name, please?
Sure. So it's Natalie Abovitz. Last name is A as in apple, B as in boy, O, V as in Victor, I, T, Z as in zebra.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Ms. Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Abovitz, can you briefly explain what your position is with the respondent, Ames?
Certainly. So we did not receive notice of these violations in the mail. And we did
Mr. Klein, she has to answer. I need her to answer your question, not a different
so
question.
you jumped a little ahead there, Natalie.
Oh, sorry.
I was looking for what your role is in terms of the
Oh,
business.
no, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood your
That's okay.
question.
No problem.
I am the COO, the Chief Operations Officer for the company.
Thank you very much.
Well, before you do that, Mr. Klein, I just need her to say specifically which company she's the Chief Operating Officer of.
So I actually do work for both Ames LLC and the permit holder on all these addresses. That they share ownership. So
okay, well, that's why I want you to be very specific. You have to say which companies they are.
Yeah, use the company names, Natalie, if you would.
So Ames LLC, and I think the permit holder might be different depending on the address. I don't know that they were all owned by the same entity. So whatever the permit holder entity is listed.
I'm sorry, was this witness sworn in? I might have missed that.
Yes, I swore. She was sworn.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. So Natalie, you work for Ames LLC.
Yes.
And what is your position with Ames LLC?
I am the COO.
That's Chief Operating Officer?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. And you have heard today some comments about the mailing address for Ames LLC. What is the mailing address for Ames LLC?
So I believe it's, hang on, let me pull it up. It's 1602 Frankfurt Avenue, number 3757, Philadelphia, PA 19125.
If I may share my screen. Do you recognize the correspondence that I have on the screen?
I believe so. This looks. I mean, I remember seeing the email that had the notice of intent to withhold. I don't remember if this was the exact same document.
But you recall seeing an email that had a notice of intent to
Yeah,
withhold?
I don't know if this is the exact same document, but this appears to be effectively the same item.
And you received that email on or about December 7th, 2022?
So I received it on December 8th, 2022. I do recall that.
Okay. And what did you do in response to receiving this document?
I believe I emailed William Fernandez.
Okay. And what was the substance of that email exchange?
Well, firstly, because this email did not indicate the substance of the violations, I asked if he could provide us with the violations since we had not received them. And also asked him what we could do to appeal these issues once we became aware of the substance of them.
Okay. And did you submit appeals to the Board of License and Inspection Review?
I personally did not, but a representative of our company did draft and submit appeals.
And those were the appeals that we saw that were stamped December 15th of 2022.
That's accurate, yes.
Okay. Prior to December 7th of 2022, were you or Ames LLC aware that these violations had been issued?
We were not.
Did you have any correspondence with the Audit and Investigation Unit about any of the addresses that are subject of these appeals?
I believe for several, if not all of these properties, we received an email asking for a list of subs and a couple other audit items. And we replied to all of those emails within days of receiving them.
But you don't recall receiving a notice of violation via email?
We definitely did not receive a notice of violation via email.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you submitted the appeals that were filed within a week of your receipt of this notice of intent to withhold?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, we also heard a little bit about Ames LLC's address. Were efforts made to update the mailing address within the city of Philadelphia's system?
Yes. So my understanding is, I mean, and at the time, you know, everyone during COVID started using Eclipse more regularly when it was all rolled out, and our address was incorrect in Eclipse, and we made several attempts to change it, and it kept not going through for whatever reason. There were various reasons it wasn't going through and the address wasn't being updated. I personally did not attempt to make those changes, but several staff members at our office had tried to update the address for Ames LLC.
And as far as you know, are you now receiving correspondence from the city at the correct address?
Yeah, I believe I actually believe we double checked and the address is now fully up to date, and everything is fine with the address.
Okay. In terms of the appeals that you filed, you know that you appealed the underlying violations. Is that what you understood you were supposed to do in response to this notice?
Yes, that was my understanding.
And do you have any legal training?
I mean, I do actually have a law degree, but I have never practiced law at all.
Okay. So it was based on your non-practicing attorney understanding of which appeals you were supposed to file in response to this notice.
Yeah, that is accurate. And I graduated law school 15 years ago and have literally never practiced. So definitely not a lawyer.
And you mentioned you had some correspondence with Mr. Will Fernandez. What was your understanding of that correspondence?
My understanding was that the proper course of action was to undertake the activity that we undertook to, you know, file these appeals. We also tried to file for an emergency hearing. I believe those were denied because we wanted to ensure the issue got addressed timely, because we did not want to have our ability to pull permits to be inhibited in any way. So that was very important to us. So we did everything that we thought, that I understood from his email, that we should be doing.
And as COO of Ames, do you have access to their business records?
Yes.
And you have searched those records and found no information as to the receipt of these violations prior to December 7th, 2022?
Yes, there is absolutely no information with regard to us receiving these violations prior to that email.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I don't have anything further for this witness. I do have one more witness, so I'll allow Mr. Cohen to cross.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klein. If you allow me to share my screen again. First of all, good morning. Good afternoon, Mrs. Abovitz. It's been a long day, but clearly not that long. Do you see the permit that is currently on my screen?
I do.
And you understand that this permit was issued February 1st of 2021?
I do.
And it also on the permit shows the address 1033 North 2nd Street.
Yes.
And you said that sometimes your organization or you worked for the contractor, and sometimes you also worked for the permit applicant. Is this one of those times where you were also working for the applicant?
For all of our, across the board, I work for both the applicant and the permit holder. They're always one and the same.
And you're aware that it's important for the applicant to submit accurate information to L&I to make sure that you're getting notices, information from the city, reports, etc., correct?
Yes.
And I don't think we have to go over all of the permits, but you would agree that for the permits that I've shown today, the 6 ones that I showed with Supervisor Figueredo, that they all have this 1033 North 2nd Street address on them, correct?
That is correct. May I just note that as of the date of issuance, that might have been an accurate address that we were receiving mail at. I'd have to go check our records because we were receiving mail at an alternate address. And that ended at some point, I believe, in early 2021. So as of the issuance of that permit, that may have been an accurate address. I'm not 100%.
Thank you. I actually just want to point out for the record on page 41, Ms. Abovitz, do you also see on this permit that the date of issuance goes back to November 9th of 2020?
I do see that, yes.
But the inspection report that's on page, excuse me, no, sorry, wrong page, 48. Oh, that's page 8. Please excuse me. Okay, the inspection report that's on page 48 that's currently displayed, that's February 10th of 2021, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, if you could say it again for the record, just to make it very clear. Thank you. Now, you also said that you had changed the address to 1602 Frankfurt Ave. Is that correct?
Yes, that is our current mailing address. And that is what it should reflect now in Eclipse. If
If you'll permit me, I'm going to share on my screen. If I can find it, one moment. I apologize for having so many different windows open. Here we go.
Occupational hazard, Mr. Cohen.
Unfortunately, yes. Can everyone see what's currently on my screen?
Yes.
It's a PO box. So that's why that's what shows up. It's a PO box.
Exactly, I was going to ask. 1602
Yeah.
Frankfurt is a US post office, correct?
Yes.
So the 1602 Frankfurt number, I forget what the number was, that would be a PO box.
That is accurate, yes.
So it's also accurate to say that Ames LLC doesn't actually do business at a US post office.
No, we use a PO box as our mailing address for the sake of efficiency and ensuring that we receive all our mail timely.
Well, of course, but what I mean is your actual staff, your employees, they don't work out of this address.
We don't have a physical address that any staff works out of. We all work entirely from home.
Okay. If you'll permit me one moment. When you were emailing with William Fernandez from the Audits and Investigations Unit, did he indicate to you the dates that these notices were issued?
I don't recall. I'd have to go review the email.
But did he send you the actual notices, the 6 notices that are in the city's packet?
When I asked him to provide them, yes, he did send them to me.
And did you have an opportunity to see the dates on those notices?
I'm sure at that time I did. I don't recall specifically reviewing the dates on the notices.
But you would agree that for each of those notices, the dates on those notices were several months prior to December of 2022?
I mean, honestly, I didn't really pay much attention to the dates on the notices. I paid attention to the date on the email that I received and the notice that I received, because that to me was the pertinent information.
And you said that you have a law degree, but that you decided not to practice law, which just editorializing, it is not for everyone. So that's probably a good decision. But you understand that notice for the purposes of attaching due process, that notice is valid at an address that's held out by that entity. Do you understand that?
I understand there's other forms of notice as well, but I don't think we need to go into the merits of this between you and I in this conversation at this point.
Is that wait. Please answer the questions more directly so that we can get
I don't understand notice.
No argument is required. Just answer.
Yeah, I don't understand notice in the way that he just stated to me. No.
Are you familiar with the mailbox rule?
No, I'm not. Again, I graduated 15 years ago and I've never practiced.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just checking because, again, if you went through law school, if you got a law degree, it's possible that you've come across these concepts.
15 years is a really long time.
But if Ames LLC is getting these permits in 2020 and 2021, and each of the permits shows that 1033 North 2nd address, then wouldn't you agree that it's probably okay if the city sends notices to the address that's on the permit?
Not fully. I wouldn't fully agree with that, especially in 2023, 2022, 21, when we're all using email so extensively.
But if the law, for instance, says that notice is valid at the last known business address, then wouldn't it make sense that the city would mail out notices per the law?
I understand that, but if we've been trying to update our address with the city and we're unable to due to technical difficulties or due to administrative difficulties, that should not be, we should not be held to blame for that.
Oh, so you were saying that you attempted to update the address or the address for Ames LLC with the city. And I'm going to share my screen again very briefly. I'm going to page 18 in the city's packet. Do you see the email that I have currently on screen?
I do, yes.
And is this an email that Ames LLC sent to the Philadelphia Department of Revenue to update the revenue address?
This does look like that, yes.
And was this email dated January 11th, 2023?
This email is, yes.
So this attempt to update an address happened after these appeals were submitted.
This attempted, yes.
And do you have records or documentation of any earlier attempts to update Ames LLC's address?
I believe that I did provide Mr. Jared with an email from one of our staff members to OPA attempting to update several of our business entity addresses that predates that email significantly. Additionally, my colleague can testify to the fact that she personally attempted to update our address on the Eclipse website several times and was unable to.
So you mentioned the OPA. That's the Office of Property Assessment, correct?
Yes.
So that would be for a property that, or an entity that owns a particular property, right?
Generally speaking, yes.
But that wouldn't be Ames LLC, which is the contractor and not the entity that owns the properties.
Yes, and again, I think that she can better testify to this since she was personally working on it. I think that her understanding at the time was that she was trying to update all of our addresses and she was directed to OPA and she thought that they were helping her with all of our addresses because whoever she spoke to at Eclipse had directed her to that email address. That's my understanding of what happened. Again, I did not personally handle that matter, so I can't speak to it with 100% accuracy.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I have nothing further for Cross.
Okay, Mr. Klein, you have any further? There's probably a few questions for her from the board, but do you have any redirect or anything?
I don't, Mr. Chair. I do have one additional witness when the board is done questioning Ms. Abbott.
Sure. Okay, thank you. This, ma'am, you said that your role is COO of Ames. How long have you done that job?
Well, I've worked for Ames LLC for approximately 8 years. I've had the role of COO for approximately 2 to 2.5 years.
And the roles that you had prior to becoming COO, what were they?
Office manager, operations manager, moved to COO.
Okay. And as a COO, could you give me a sense of what that entails?
Well, not to complicate it, but I work for both Ames and the owner of all of the entities that it's also property management. We also own a property management company. So
well, just say
I handle.
It could be complicated, but let's do it in a way that I think we can follow you. You work for Ames as COO, and name the other companies that you also work for. What titles?
There's like 20 entities I also work for, but I effectively handle operations for a property management company and also for a construction company.
Okay.
To boil it down.
Okay, so that's understood. And so as your role as the manager of the construction company, are you the person who processes invoices or supervises staff who do that?
I supervise staff who processes invoicing. I do not personally do it.
Okay, do you supervise staff who do job estimates and scheduling?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you understand the scheduling process, you understand the notice to proceed and all the other intricacies that go into starting a construction job.
I don't personally handle the project management of our construction jobs, so I wouldn't say that I have an intimate knowledge of that process. No.
Do you supervise those individuals?
To an extent. I mean, I don't directly supervise our project managers and our construction managers.
Okay,
I
so
oversee them.
Pardon me?
I help and oversee certain aspects of their roles, but I don't really handle field operations.
Okay, is that someone else in your office who does that?
Yes.
Okay, and is that person responsible for all permits, change orders, and other documents related to construction?
Yes, I would say so.
I'm sorry, you broke up. I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I said yes, I would say so.
Okay, so if there's a discrepancy or misunderstanding regarding payments for a particular job, who would that come to you?
That would go to our bookkeeper.
Okay, the bookkeeper gets to decide if you pay on an invoice or not?
I mean, an initial dispute would go to our bookkeeper. It would really depend on the specifics of the situation in terms of who made the decision.
Okay, do you supervise the maintenance of log books for change orders and that sort of thing?
we don't really keep logbooks of change orders, but we're not doing that many jobs at any given time, so there's not really.
Okay, so the answer is no. I just want to hear no, yes.
Yeah, those don't exist, to answer you.
On your company, they don't exist.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sure they might elsewhere. We don't have that.
Okay, and so who handles and is responsible to make sure that there's compliance? Who does that?
Do you mean compliance with
all local
city regulations? The project managers are in charge of compliance at the company.
And so they keep a log of all matters that related to compliance issues in terms of permits, subcontractors, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, we have project management software we use. We don't use like a paper log, but yeah, I think the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, and so if something isn't done, it's sort of give you a warning, a prompt or something, correct?
Sure.
And that comes to you or someone else in your company?
It would not come to me.
So it comes to someone else in your company?
Yes.
Do you supervise that person?
No.
So if something was wrong, they wouldn't say to you, this is a problem.
Can you define something being wrong? I mean, there's a variety of things that could be wrong. Some of those things may come to me, some may not. So I need a little more clarification.
Okay, if your schedule says you're going to do rough plumbing on the 18th of May, and by the end of May, the plumbing work is done, but the plumbing permits are not in your files. There should be a prompt in your software system that says, hey, we don't have plumbing permits.
Yeah, our project managers are fully in charge of that. But there is a prompt in the system that indicates whether or not a permit is on file, to answer your question.
Okay, but that would not come to you.
I would not.
Okay, so if there is a misalignment between the subcontractors and the work that they do and the permits that are required, you wouldn't necessarily know about that.
But to clarify, I would have access to that knowledge. We have a daily construction meeting.
Then actually, if you had access to
projects,
not asking if you had access to it, I'm asking if you would be actively engaged in.
I would be aware of it because we have a daily construction meeting every single day where we go through all of our active projects, and any issues that arise are discussed in that meeting.
Okay,
so I would be aware of it.
Okay, so those prompts do go to you then. So that information that comes up, you're aware of.
The whole staff is aware because we have a whole office meeting.
But we're talking to you today. We're asking you as the COO, you would be aware of it. And would be actively engaged in resolving problems.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Klein, or anyone else have any questions? Okay, Mr. Klein, next witness.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I do have a question for the witness. You noted that there were several attempts to change the address in Eclipse in the system itself. Is that correct?
My understanding is that they did attempt to change the address more than once. Yes.
And were they successful through Eclipse?
I don't believe so. I think that's why the matter got escalated initially to OPA. And again, I think the next testifying party can speak more to that than I can.
Was this during the COVID time, pre-COVID, correction, during COVID, or pretty much in 21, 22 when COVID started to kind of die down some?
So I believe we had issues during COVID, and they continued through. They kept going. We kept having issues trying to update addresses. It was a persistent issue. It was not a one-time issue.
So the dates that we have here in relationship to the properties date back, one or two go back to 20, but then they go into 2021 and then 2022. And in the Eclipse system, there was a prompt to say that if you were trying to have some issues resolved, you could always ask for and make an appointment to go in person, or you could set up a virtual appointment and have a one-on-one with a representative from the department to resolve your issues. Are you aware of that?
Again, I personally did not do this. A staff member did. I do not know the exact process by which they took and what issues they ran into and whether or not they were able to schedule any of those items. I cannot speak to that.
So you're not aware that that opportunity is presented in the Eclipse system?
I personally am not aware of that, no.
Okay. So now you know that that was there and it's still there. Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, do you know the actual changing or when the dates changed? You had the 1033 North 2nd Street as your address on the permits. When did your address change or your PO box change to the Frankfurt Avenue post office?
So I'd have to look into that for you, to be completely honest. We've had that Frankfurt Avenue post office PO box for years and years. It has existed the entire time I've worked for the company, but we did also receive mail at that Second Street address. I would have to go look into it to give you an exact date. I don't recall the exact date we stopped receiving mail there.
Was that Second Street address a physical address or was that a PO box as well?
It is not a PO box. It was a shared office space. One of the owners of Ames LLC is also a realtor, and it's a Remax office. So it was the office where he hangs his license, is what that address is. So we were able to also receive mail there, but it was not a physical office space for Ames LLC, if that was your question.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Klein?
Thank you. I would call Teresa Chapman, ask her to unmute and video herself.
Can I interrupt and ask for a brief executive session of the board and council?
Okay, you want to do that prior to hearing this next witness?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. We will, what time? It's 3 o'clock now. We're
Mr.
gonna go
Pincus,
up-
Mr. Pincus, who did you want in? Just,
I wanted
board.
to speak with the board and our council, Mr.
okay.
We'll go off the record until 3:10.
I'm ready.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe, I just want to make certain that everyone, the panel is back completely. Just wanted to, before Mr. Klein, you call your next witness, a matter has been brought to my attention that we need is important to share with the board at this time. Mr. Pincus, I think some information he needs to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Klein knows, I'm an attorney and I practice in Westmont area and all over the city, but my home office is in Westmont area. And at some point, I was involved with a client who owns a home on Arbutus Street. And when Ms. Abovitz was introduced, the name rang a bell. And my recollection is that at least a year ago or more, I was involved in a dispute with, I believe it's, I don't know whether it's her husband or a relative of Mr. Abovitz, who was a principal in an LLC that built a house on West Arbutus Street in Philadelphia. Ultimately, it was resolved. I wasn't involved in that, but for some period of time, I was engaged in that matter. And I believe it would be appropriate for me to recuse myself from any further consideration in this matter. That's assuming, if I'm correct, that Ms. Abovitz's there's a gentleman that is a principal in either Ames or any of the LLCs that she has had involvement with that own or develop or build properties in Philadelphia. There may be more than one Mr. Abovitz, but my strong belief is that I actually even spoke with her regarding my client's matter.
Mr. Klein? No,
Can I clarify? Because
not yet, madam. Whoever that
Hang on now.
is, and if whoever speaks has to be on film as well. But Mr. Klein, any concerns or comments?
I certainly know that Mr. Pincus has the highest ethical standards, and if he thinks that he should recuse himself, I certainly won't have an objection to that.
Okay.
Neither will the city. Thank you, Mr. Pincus.
Okay.
Thank you. I will go to a breakout room.
Okay, just 1 minute, Mr. Pincus, before you leave. Mr. Klein, you want to invite inquiry from your client?
Yes, Miss Abovitz, I see you're back on camera now. If you have a clarification to what you heard from Mr. Pincus, please offer it.
The owner of Ames was a part owner in that property. My husband was in no way affiliated with that property. I just would like to clarify that. Mr. Pincus and I may have spoken. I don't recall. It was a very long time ago, but that's probably where he recalls the name from. And if he was involved with Arbutus Street, then he was involved with both myself and the owner of Ames LLC. So that is accurate. It's just not my husband.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Then, well, Mr. Pincus will not hear the balance of this matter. He will be in a breakout room until this is completed, then he'll come back. Please be assured that there won't be any further discussion among the board and him on this matter. We will maintain a level of confidentiality, so this matter will not be discussed in executive session with Mr. Pincus.
Of
Okay,
course,
thank you so
I-
much, Mr. Pincus. And we
Thank
will-
you. I will leave.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wade will place him in breakout room. Okay, Mr. Klein, you have one additional witness.
I do. If Teresa Chapman could unmute herself and go on video.
I'm here.
Okay, Ms. Chapman, please raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Mr. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Klein?
Thank you. Ms. Chapman, can you tell us by whom you're employed?
Liberty Bell Management?
And is that affiliated with Ames LLC?
Yes.
How are they connected to each other?
They have the same owner.
Okay. And what is your job title with Liberty Bell Management?
Property manager.
As part of your job as property manager, did you have the opportunity to attempt to update the address for Ames LLC?
Yes.
And you yourself handled that?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us what steps you took and whether you were successful and when you were making those outreach to the city?
I first started making outreach in the beginning of 2021, so January or February timeframe. I first started with trying to call 311 and OPA just to try to get information on what steps to take. That was a very difficult process and really didn't get very many places, or I would get a lot of different answers on how to proceed to do that. I did try on Eclipse where it was just glitch after glitch, and I was seeing that it was not updating the address no matter how many times I attempted. I finally got a hold of someone through OPA, which I did explain to him. This is not only for tax purposes, but all purposes of the business. And they told me to email OPA addressing, which I did on March 18th of 2021. Through various emails, I was told by a Bob Morgan to call his cell phone, which I did do. I had a long discussion with him about what I needed, what I was looking to do. And it was my understanding that he had all the information needed and that the address would be updated, not only for tax purposes, but also for all purposes of the business.
Just for purposes of clarification, can you see my screen?
Yes.
And is this the March 18th, 2021 email to OPA that you just referred to?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us whether the address changes were successful after you had this correspondence with Mr. Morgan?
My understanding is that they were. It was in the past year when we started getting more access and the system changed even for revenue, where I saw that the mailing addresses hadn't been changed. And as you saw last, up to even January, they still hadn't been changed. And I'm still reaching out to various city departments to get our address changed and updated.
So your understanding and belief in March of 2021 was that the issue had been addressed?
Yes.
And then you since came to learn that it had not?
Correct.
And when Mr. Cohen was making his presentation, he showed I guess it was an email that was directed to you from the Department of Revenue.
Correct.
Can you tell us, some context as to how you came to receive that email, please?
I started reaching out to revenue because I noticed there's the new tax system and you can create a login. And through that, it showed you what the mailing address was. And I noticed for all our entities, including Ames, the address had not been updated. So I made that update through the login, but I also reached out to revenue to ensure that that update was actually happening.
So it would be fair to say that you started trying to change the address in the first quarter of 2021, and it was not changed until the first quarter of 2023?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have anything further from Ms. Chapman.
Okay, thank you. Any cross, Mr. Cohen?
I do have some cross. Thank you very much, Ms. Chapman. Actually, Mr. Klein, if you can put back that March 2021 email on the screen. I'm afraid I don't have a copy. So Ms. Chapman, you said that this was your email exchange with the Office of Property Assessment, correct?
Yes,
And in it, you're representing yourself on behalf of Liberty Bell Management, correct?
yes.
And this is with respect to property addresses, like mailing addresses for a physical address, correct?
I had clarified in the email that this was mailing address not for the property, but for the owning entities itself. And as Natalie had stated earlier, there's multiple different entities and Ames LLC was one of them.
Well, does Ames LLC actually own the properties, the 6 properties that are issued in this case?
No,
So that would be those other entities that were shown on the building permits as the permit holders, correct?
yes, those entities, but also Ames LLC. I was trying to update it for all entities.
But were you aware that the Office of Property Assessment doesn't deal with building permit addresses, they deal with property addresses?
No, I did not know that, and at no time did OPA state that.
And did you, for example, go to the L&I website or L&I Help?
I tried multiple times to call and go and search on the web myself. And as I stated, I had been trying to do that for months leading up to this email chain, and I was getting various different answers, and I did not find the city's website at all helpful in this situation.
Did you go to the L&I physical counter in the Municipal Services Building in the concourse level?
No, I did not. This was taking place during COVID, and that's not something I was comfortable with doing, to be quite
Okay.
frank.
Did you go onto the Eclipse system and start a chat with the Eclipse, I guess their support people?
I didn't know that was an option.
Did you
Even right now, I didn't know that was a feature in Eclipse.
Did you call L&I's license, or sorry, permit issuance unit and talk to them about updating the Eclipse system?
I called 311. I didn't, like I said, like I was trying to call 311. There's so many different city offices. How am I supposed to know which one to call? So I called 311 and tried to get answers on who to call to update any of this. And I kept being directed to multiple different offices, but the most common one I kept being directed to was OPA.
And is it your understanding that the Ames LLC contractor address in L&I's Eclipse system, is it your understanding that that is now updated?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I have nothing further on cross.
Okay. Any redirect?
No, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
thank you.
I have some questions that other members may also. Ms. Chaplin, the email thread that we just put up didn't mention Ames Construction at all. At least I don't believe it did. How would the receiver of your email know that Ames Construction is part of this issue?
Like I said, so I got an email, which is in that thread from a Bob Morgan, just simply stating, please call my cell phone number, provided his cell phone number. And it was during that phone conversation where I listed multiple different entities and Ames LLC was one of them.
So of the 200 or so LLCs, et cetera, you listed all of them in a telephone conversation?
No, I listed the ones that I knew of at that time that I absolutely needed to change. And Ames LLC was the top of the list, given that it was dealing with active building permits.
And what information did you give him regarding Ames?
He asked me for the company name, the EIN number, the commercial activity number, and also there was one other one that I always give, the city tax number. And I provided all 3 of those numbers to him.
Okay, and what was he supposed to do with that information?
He told me that the system would be updated with the proper mailing address.
Okay, how would he know what the proper mailing address was?
I provided the proper mailing address to him over the phone.
Oh, that's what I'm asking. You didn't say that.
Yes, I provided the mailing address, what it needed to be changed to him while I was in that conversation.
And what mailing address did you give him?
1602 Frankfurt Avenue, number 3757, Philadelphia, PA 19125.
Okay, and when did you check to see if that address had been changed and updated?
I didn't check. I mean, through Eclipse and just through my own experience with OPA and Eclipse, and trying to see mailing addresses change, when I contact people about it, the answer that is always given to me, and I've been doing this now for 7 years, is, oh, it will be updated. It can take months to do so.
Okay,
so my understanding is that it would be updated, but I can't necessarily rely on the online system to show it accurately, especially not right away.
Okay, so are you also the person who goes in the systems to check on permits and that sort of thing for the various projects?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so do you submit permit applications for projects?
No,
Okay. Did you have conversations with anyone in your company who does that and ask them what the addresses were showing?
no, I did not.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just based on the March 18, 21 email, it stated on there, only the owner can change the address. Did you see that, Ms. Chapman?
No, I did not.
Are you the owner of any of these properties?
No, I'm not the owner.
So by virtue of the email that your attorney placed on the screen, you wasn't allowed to change any of the addresses.
I'm not the owner, but that's not the conversation I had with an OPA employee.
But I'm talking about the email that was sent to you. Do you need Mr. Klein to put that back up again?
No, I don't. I know what you're talking about. It's owned by an LLC. I'm a representative of the LLC. So my understanding is that I am more than legally allowed to change the address as I am representing the LLC.
Mr. Cohen, is that a true statement? Because I didn't see anything that was submitted to OPA that she was even an employee of the LLC.
Well, since I'm not under oath, I can't really give any testimonial statements, but I would at least, I will offer that the city does have a limited 3-question rebuttal. Hopefully that will address any questions the board has.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Klein? Do we have Ms. Penn, do you have a question?
Yes, please. I just have a couple of questions. So, Ms. Chapman, you indicated that you're a property manager?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you, is Ames LLC one of the companies that you operate as property manager for?
Yes.
And as a property manager, well, maybe you could tell me what your responsibilities are as property manager? For Ames LLC, let's do that one.
I deal with a lot of, if there's a tax issue, I deal with tax issues. And then in regards to Ames LLC, the conversion of a property going from under construction into active. And that's where I kind of play a role.
So do you only deal with new construction properties, or do you, or are you property manager for existing properties?
I'm a property manager for existing properties. There's lots of different entities with various different configurations of properties.
Well, when you're saying various configurations, do you mean under construction versus fully constructed?
It has both.
Okay. So as a property manager for an existing building, would you be the person who would be responsible for responding to any violation notices on those properties?
No.
So what do you do for those properties other than follow the tax issues?
I deal with tenants, I deal with tenant issues, payments. I really deal with a lot of different things. I deal with the mortgages. I mean, it's really very intensive what I do, but I do not deal with the specific violations on a property.
So you have no history as a property manager with the Department of Licenses and Inspections, either on existing properties or properties under construction. Would that be accurate?
I wouldn't say I have no, I wouldn't say that's accurate. I'm sure that in my history, I've talked to them regarding many different issues, but I did not talk to them on these issues. And it's rare that I'm involved with violations for building permits. That's more something that a maintenance coordinator would deal with, the project manager would deal with, not me as the property manager.
Anything else, Ms. Penn?
No, nothing else. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Chapman, I believe it may not have been on the record, so I'll just need clarification. How long did you say you've been employed by Ames and the various other LLCs?
For 7 years.
How long have you been actively engaged in real estate as a professional?
About 8 years. I had one job previous to working for Libertyville.
Okay, and what was your role in that prior job?
It wasn't even in Philadelphia. It was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was
What
a
was
real estate assistant.
Okay, so do you have a real estate sales license?
No, I do not.
Do you have any certifications as a property manager?
No, I do not.
Okay. The training for the most part for what you do, you've gotten on the job at Ames Real Estate?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I said just clarification.
Yes.
You said that you're not, Ms. Tapman, you said you wasn't responsible for the violations. Who are responsible for following up on violations?
Violations are dealt with by our maintenance coordinator or the project manager.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Klein, you have any further witnesses?
I do not, Mr. Chair, no.
Okay. Mr. Cohen, do you have any additional witnesses or are we ready for closing?
Yes, just a limited 3-question rebuttal from Supervisor Jose Figueiredo.
Yes.
Supervisor Figueiredo, just to remind you, you are under oath from earlier.
Understood.
During Ms. Abovitz's testimony, did you review L&I's Eclipse contractor record for Ames LLC?
I did.
Has Ames LLC updated its contractor mailing address from 1033 2nd Street?
No, it's still the same address.
And are the methods that I mentioned earlier, going in person to the L&I desk or using the Eclipse chat feature between 9:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., are those both ways that Ames can update its contractor address?
Yeah, down to the municipal services building, an in-person appointment can be made, and there's also a virtual opportunity to make an appointment.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Any cross?
Yeah, I have one question. Inspector Figueiredo, how does the city advertise this virtual chat feature? Do they tell anybody that that's available, or the taxpayers supposed to divine it themselves?
No, so it's on the website. Specifically, if you go on phila.gov and look through licensing, I'm sure it would take too long to try to go through all the different documentation, but with permits, zoning permits, licensing, it's generally made available through there's a long list of ways that it's presented. Like anyone, if a permit is being pulled, it's through licenses and inspections, and that can be done in person. That could also be done through Eclipse, and generally that information is made readily available.
Just for the record, I'm going to put in the chat a link to the L&I website, to the Contact Us page. That's one way where you can find out information about accessing the chat feature.
Okay.
311 as well, just occurred to me.
And sorry, one additional question. I believe, and it flashed on the screen very, very quickly, so I'm not certain, but I believe Mr. Cohen shared an email earlier that was from Revenue confirming that the address had been updated. So is your testimony that Revenue now has a different address than Eclipse for Ames LLC?
Is that directed at me?
It is.
Revenue doesn't use Eclipse, so they use a different system. So if they have some other updated address, that it wouldn't matter as far as L&I's Eclipse system, because whatever account is in Revenue is not the same account as in Eclipse. If that makes any sense.
It makes sense to me. I'm not sure it makes sense to the layperson, but thank you for your answer.
Well, yeah, I can explain if you want, but yeah.
Okay, so I think unless we have some additional witnesses, we at this point want to hear closing arguments from the council. Ms. Klein, if you would go, and then Mr. Cohen will complete that, then the board will take a moment in executive session before we make a decision. Mr.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be as brief as I can, as I know the board has a long agenda. We've spent some time on this case.
Yeah.
I think really what you're seeing here is one of the many impacts of what COVID did to various businesses trying to interact with the city during that time period. We have violations that were sent to an address that they were actively trying to change during the same time period. You see testimony and some evidence that they were reaching out to OPA, to Revenue, to L&I to try and get this address updated. And that they acted expediently when they actually received actual notice of the violations. It was within 8 days that they had drafted, made an appointment, and submitted those appeals. And I think, this board has some equitable power, and I think that principles of fundamental fairness and due process show that the intent of the taxpayer to lodge this appeal is pretty clear. And they took the steps that they needed to take from the capacity that they had as a layperson to get the addresses updated and to deal with the various administrative agencies. I think we can all agree that doing business in Philadelphia can be complex with the intertwined relationships of the various city agencies. And I think what you heard today is someone who is not an expert at L&I, who's doing their best to try and get the information where they needed it to go and respond as quickly as they could to what the city was telling them. So we would respectfully ask that we be given the opportunity to substantively address the violations at issue.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen?
I think the issue here is pretty clear. The city has, as Ms. Chapman said, has lots of different organs, lots of different organizations. The Office of Property Assessment, Department of Revenue, and each of these departments has a specific role. So the Office of Property Assessment, for example, deals with properties, as the name suggests, physical parcels. Revenue deals with taxes. L&I deals with permitting and licenses. And specifically within that, L&I deals with building permits and contracting and communicating with contractors. And that's the role that was at issue here. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, Ames LLC was not putting people on that job who were suited to that role. They tried to have a property manager who doesn't normally deal with permitting issues address a permitting problem. They had the COO who doesn't really have that much interaction, or based on what she testified to, doesn't seem to have that much interaction with the permitting side of things, have her testify to dealing with address notice issues. But what we're dealing with here, after Mr. Figueredo testified that the contractor address still has not been updated, what we're dealing with here is Ames LLC still has not put the right people on this. They still have not gotten the address updated, even though there are multiple avenues to do so, as Supervisor Figueredo testified. They could go in person, they could go use the Eclipse chat feature, they could use 311, but it sounded like when Ms. Chapman used 311, I don't know if she understood, or maybe she was confused about how to get at that particular role, at the building, permitting, and contracting role to change the contracting address. Of course, these violations at issue are tied to that contracting role. They're tied specifically to the contracting license and these building permits. The building permits that were issued in 2020 and 2021, they all bear that 1033 address. And all of the inspection reports that were subsequent communications dealing with those permits also all had that 1033 address. So it's really the responsibility of Ames LLC when it gets these permits, when it sees on the permit that its address is wrong, that should clue them in. It's their responsibility to correct those notice addresses in the role of a contractor. And as the board knows, under section A 502.4 of the Philadelphia Code, notice is valid when it is sent to the last known business address, which in this case, from the permits themselves, was the 1033 address. And you heard Ms. Abovitz testify that they did used to use that address, probably around the time that the permits were issued in 2020-ish. But then later, when they stopped using that address, their efforts to change it with the city lagged behind. And specifically, their effort to change it with L&I through the Eclipse system didn't actually succeed, has not succeeded yet. So I would argue that the notice is valid because it did go to an address that was held out as valid, and it is the responsibility of the contractor to make sure that its efforts are successful to update its address. Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, this is probably a little out of order, but and I'll allow Mr. Klein to follow up if he needs to. But Mr. Figueredo, Mr. Cohen, today, if there's a violation notice on any of the Ames properties that use the South 2nd Street or 4th Street address for the permit, what would they be mailed? What address would they be mailed to? Today, if we mailed out a violation notice to Ames, where would it go?
Sorry, I think that's directed at Supervisor Figueredo, who is currently.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. It would, in our system, we have 1033 North Second Street, 5th floor.
Today.
That's what's still in the system.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there may be other violation notices that Mr. Klein, they may be calling you about if that mail has not been somehow forwarded.
Very likely.
Okay. Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, we will then, it's now, let's call it 4:40. I'm sorry, 3:40. We will take a 10-minute break to discuss this matter and to just take a break in the break because we have a long group of cases to review after this. And so we're off the record until 3:50. Thank you for your patience and your cooperation.
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin with thanking everyone for your patience and your cooperation in this matter. After extensive communication and executive session, I think we reached a conclusion on these matters. Mr. Cohen, just want to make sure I can see your image there. Yes, okay. And Mr. Klein, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
One point of clarification before you announce your decision.
Yes.
I did want to advise the board that during the recess, my client did send me a text message that contained a photo of their license in Eclipse that showed the correct address.
He actually did share this with me. It is on the license. It's not on the contractor record that Mr. Figueredo testified to earlier.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Klein, just curious, and again, I don't want to open up the record for considerable amount of communication, but at the final statement that I made regarding if they were to have permits mailed, violations mailed to them today or submit a permit today, which address would they be using? Because Eclipse uses that old address.
So the contractor license that they renewed on March 8th of 2023 has the Frankfurt Avenue address tied to it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. We've, as previously stated, we've spent a considerable amount of time reviewing the matters that have been put forth and listened very closely to the arguments, both by the appellants, counsel, and the city. But it's clear to us that we're bound by the Philadelphia City Code, which states a 30-day deadline for making an appeal. We do have some discretion as to whether to allow that 30 days to be extended, particularly if there's extenuating circumstances or the appellant is a particularly individual with impairment or other issues that would render it appropriate to extend the deadline. But with regard to the following cases, HA-2022-005125, 138 South 57th Street. It was approximately a 14-month period during between the notice violation notice date and the appeal date. So this matter is being dismissed for failure to file a timely appeal. HA-2022-005127, 883 Belmont Avenue. Again, this matter is about 10 months late, so it's being dismissed for failure to file a timely appeal. HA-2022-005129, 1432 North 57th Street. That's approximately 10 months late. Again, it's been dismissed for appellant's failure to file a timely appeal. HA-2022-005130, 6641 Lansdowne Avenue. This matter is approximately 7 months late and therefore is being dismissed for appellant's failure to file a timely appeal. HA-2022-005131, 109 North 63rd Street. Again, this matter is approximately 7 months late and it's being dismissed for appellant's failure to file a timely appeal. And finally, HA-2022-005133, 846 North 44th Street. Again, this matter is approximately 9 months late and therefore it's being dismissed for the appellant's failure to file a timely appeal. Thank you all for your participation in this matter. And of course, Mr. Klein, you will take the appropriate action as you see fit representing your client. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
We appreciate the board's time.
May we please be dismissed?
Yes, you're dismissed.
Thank you. Mr. Klein, I'll call you in a minute.
Let's move on to the next matter.
Mr. Pincus is back. I tried to bring him back in.
Yes, bring Mr. Pincus back.
I tried to, he should be on.
Okay. His name is showing up, so he'll be in a moment.
Okay.
Yes.
There was a request from the city to hear case 23 for loss of witness at 4 o'clock. I don't see the appellant.
Okay, let's call it out.
Case number 23, hearing appeal number HA 2021-002692, 3990 Frankfurt Ave, Valerie Negrundi.
And good afternoon, Amy Skiles on behalf of the city.
Good afternoon, Ms. Skiles. Anyone representing 3990 Frankfurt Avenue, Valerie Negrundi? Anyone present? Any conversations with the appellant, Ms. Skiles?
No, no conversations, just apart from emailing the city's exhibits.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wade, was
Yes.
service?
Service was made to the address provided on the appeal.
Okay, Mr. Pincus, what time do you have? You're muted, sir.
4:07 PM.
4:07 PM. Thank you so much. All righty, Ms. Skiles, what is your preference?
This city would request a city affirm for failure to appear.
Okay, thank you. We'll poll the board regarding HA 2021-002692 3990 Frankfurt Avenue, Valerie Negrundi, city affirm, non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City firm for non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
Thank you. We have one final vote. Is Mr. Patton still with us?
No, Mr. Patton has dropped off.
Okay, thank you.
Members of the board, I apologize. I left too hastily. For purposes of the Sunshine Act, could we please record the votes for each of the appeals that were dismissed?
We did.
The resolutions were reported, but the votes of the individual members were not.
Oh, there was no individual members. The individual chairperson dismissed, which is the right of the chair in this instance.
Okay, I thank you very much for clarifying. I am very sorry.
Okay. No problem. Thank you very much.
Case number 21, hearing appeal number HA 2022-001448, 221 West Wishart Street, Andrew Pickett.
Andrew Pickett, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Mary Costello on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon. Andrew Pickett, 221 West Wishart Street.
He's on the hearing.
Okay, not responding. And we maybe we're pronouncing it incorrectly. Is West Wishart, Wishart Street.
You probably just need the moment.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir, would you mind putting your image, adjusting your screen so we can see your face?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
All right, thank you. Would you raise your right hand so you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Now, before we proceed, sir, I need to ask, whose name is on the deed to this property?
My name, Andrew Pickett.
Anyone else's name on the property?
No, I got all my papers there, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to just to confirm that on the record. Okay, Ms. Costello.
I do have one witness today, Garvin Jowers, who I believe.
Yes, Mr. Jowers, if you raise your right hand so you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You place your hand down. Okay, Ms. Costello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jowers. Can you please state your full name for the record?
Garvin Jowers.
And what is your position with L&I?
I am the construction services manager, interim, and the Central West inspection unit supervisor.
And are you familiar with the property located at 221 West Wishart Street?
Yes,
How so?
I performed an inspection at the property a little over a year ago. Uh, it was in regards to a complaint. And well, the complaint was that the owner at 221 had made a parking space out of 223 West Wishart.
And permission to share my screen, Chairman Woodson?
Yes, ma'am.
Inspector Jowers, can you please identify what's been?
Excuse me, can I cut in here for a minute? Mr. Chair, can I be excused
Yes,
for about 10 minutes?
yes, sir. No
Thank
problem.
you.
Yep.
Should I wait, Chairman Woodson, then for?
No, we still have a minimum, we have a quorum remaining. Mr. Washington will not vote in this matter. But we
Okay.
do have a quorum. Unless you object, we will proceed.
I do not. Inspector Jowers, can you please identify what's been marked as City Exhibit A?
Sure, what would you like me to comment?
Can you please identify it for the record?
Yes, violation notice in order to correct.
And what date was that, or what date was this property originally inspected?
March 5th, 2022,
And what was the date of the notice?
March 8th, 2022.
And when were the necessary repairs required to be made?
Curb cut restoration and signage removed.
And what date were the necessary repairs to be made by?
April the 11th, 2022.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to direct your attention to what's been marked as City Exhibit C. Can you please identify that for the record?
Exhibit C partially shows half of the driveway and the entire property at 221 West Wishart.
Okay, and what date was that photograph taken?
May 4th, 2023.
Okay. And what can you see right here?
That's a cone.
In this area here?
Paved walkway, pedestrian.
Okay. And from this vantage point, can you please identify this photograph for the record?
That is 223 West Wishart.
And what date was that photograph taken?
May 4th, 2023.
And what does this photograph depict for the record?
It depicts a fenced lot with a vehicle in the lot and 4 signs.
And that lot has been fully paved, correct?
That lot has been paved.
Okay. And finally, what does this photograph here illustrate for the record?
Fenced lot, vehicle parked, 4 signs, paved footway, paved over curve.
And what date was that photograph taken?
March 5th, 2022.
Okay. And what would the appellant need to do to comply these violations?
Remove those signs. In particular, the tow sign and the no parking sign. Would also need to not park his car there. There's nothing against paving that lot. The curb was, through photographs, shows that it was already depressed prior to the paving of the lot. But the threatening to tow someone's car if they park in front of that lot, he cannot do, because it is not zoned as a parking space. It's zoned as an R3 single family dwelling.
Okay, so he would need to either remove those signs as you stated, or he would need to obtain the proper zoning, correct?
Correct.
And has he done that to this date?
No.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Inspector Jowers.
Mr. Pickett, do you have any questions of the inspector based on his testimony?
Yes, sir. You hear?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just ask your question.
All right, good. Can I see what I have to see, sir?
No, what I'm asking you is that, do you have any questions of the inspector based on his testimony? You can give us your general statement after the prosecution has rested, after they finish asking their witnesses questions, then you can tell us your side.
I have a question for the inspector.
Okay, you can ask him a question. Yes, that's what I asked you if you have a question.
Why is he wait till Thursday, which is like 4 days ago, to come at my property to tell me to remove us? First, he tell me fix the curb, which there was no curb there. There was no curb there because
Mr. Pickett,
when I buy
Mr. Pickett, ask a question. Okay, ask a question.
Well, all right. Would I ask you? Would I ask him why is he asking me to remove that parking sign there?
Okay, let him answer. Mr. Jowers.
Okay, got you. Sorry about that, sir.
Mr. Jowers, please respond.
223 West Woodhart is not zoned as a parking space.
I never knew that, sir.
Okay.
Number two, why is you accusing me of breaking that curb to make it as a driveway?
If you just heard my statement, I retracted that. The curb was depressed prior to the lot being paved.
Right, that's why I ask you that. I mean, you're
He
accusing me
answered
of
your
that.
question. He answered your question. You have any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. That's it from now. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costello?
So in closing from the city, a use registration permits required for any new use commenced on land, as Mr. Jowers stated and is stated in Exhibit A and B. And here, Mr. Pickett would need to obtain a use registration permit to comply his violations. Or as Mr. Jowers previously stated, he would need to remove the car and remove the signs.
Okay.
So we would ask that the board vote city affirm for these violations. Thank you.
Ms. Costello, question for you. The address of the vacant lot is the 221.
No. Sorry.
What is the address of the vacant lot?
223.
Okay, so the address is 223. Okay.
Who
But the
owns-
violation was mailed to 221.
Yes, because Mr. Pickett resides at 221.
Who owns
Okay.
223?
I own both the land, sir. I bought the house and then I bought the land. I bought the land in 2020, about in November 4th, 2020.
Okay.
But nobody never tell me anything about, well, you
Okay,
can't.
Mr. Pickett, wait a minute, Mr. Pickett, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
We'll give you a moment, and just a moment, just want to do this in order.
Okay,
Ms.
sir.
Costello, anything else, Ms. Costello?
No, Chairman Winston, the city rester case.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Pickett, tell us your understanding of what happened.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I bought this land in November 4th, 2020. When I bought this land, nobody never said to me, listen, Andrew, you're buying this land. This is what you have to do with it. Whatever, if you want to put your car in there, well, this is what you have to do. Nobody never told me that. And, you know, it's like sad for me that I had to end up in this situation. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and it's shocked that I end up in this. And they moved me into buying it. I bought this land, and hold on, give me 1 second. I bought this land with the intention of extending my house to it. But for right now, I'm just using it as a like a parking spot. It's temporarily because in my street, we don't get parking in the street. Oh, it's terrible. You could send the same inspector to see, oh, people put cone all over the street. You go to try to move cone, they try to shoot you, and they got big. Like 2 days ago, guys pull gun on guy. Look, It's terrible. Plus on the street, if you go to park there, the thief and stuff out your car. So that's why I'm using this yard for the time temporarily as a parking spot. So that's just if I don't get parking out on the road, I would come in there. It's not that I would use it permanent because I got grandkids. You know, I want to, I got my big son. I'm trying to raise up some money to extend onto the lot. That's why I buy the lot.
Okay.
So it's a sad situation I'm in right now that, I don't have nowhere to park my car when I come home from work in the afternoon. And now this is the only resolve I got, just to go in there, come in. And if I ain't got no parking on the road, I would go in there. But if I got parking outside, I would go outside there.
Okay.
So I don't
Thank
know
you
what
very
you
much.
could do.
Okay, Ms. Costello, any additional questions of Mr. Pickett? You're muted, Ms. Costello.
I apologize, Chairman Whitson. I do not have any further questions of Mr. Pickett.
Okay, Mr. Pickett, do you understand though that all property in the city of Philadelphia is controlled by the various laws and ordinances, correct?
No, sir. I'm blind about that situation.
Okay, so
nobody tell me nothing. I'm in a
wait. We can't speak at the same time. So the answer is that you didn't understand that. But have you consulted a lawyer or a real estate professional as to what you can do with the vacant land?
Well, yeah, I'm about to do that right now because
so the answer is
everybody
you haven't done that yet. You haven't done it.
No,
okay.
That's what I'm saying to you. That's
Well,
why I'm saying.
no. Just answer my question. So.
No, it's no. Yes,
okay.
sir.
So
yes, sir.
Before you make plans, before you spend more money, and to build another, to extend your house, or to do anything else on that land, please.
Well, I know that.
Listen to me.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry.
Please consult with a real estate professional, either a licensed real estate broker, a real estate lawyer, or an architect or engineer. There's certain rules that you have to follow to build on any land in the city of Philadelphia. Zoning determines what you can build on a parcel of land. And so, but at the moment, you may be able to use your vacant lot to park your car, but you have to get zoning approval for that. So you have to go through and get a permit to do that. And that requires that you get some professional support and assistance to tell you what you need to do and make those applications. Are you prepared to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alrighty. Just one moment. Any other questions from anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like to ask him, Mr. Pickett, after you received the violation notice, did you try to contact anyone at the Department of Licenses and Inspections to discuss the violation?
Yes, sir.
Did you speak with anyone?
Yes, but I only was getting the reception. So what I did, I leave my number with the reception to contact the person, which is the guy that came at my house Thursday, which he's sitting there. But he never get back to me. I called like 3 times and they said they're going to give him my number so that he could get back to me. But he never get back to me until now, until Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday, like 4 days. Yes, sir. So I'm in a bad situation right now. So I don't know what to do.
Thank you.
Well, okay, thank you. Mr. Pickett, there's some immediate things you can do. As Mr. Jowers stated, you need to take the no parking signs down. That would help. And then you need to remove the no parking signs. That would bring you into compliance, and stop parking your car on that lot. In the meantime, that would be the immediate things to do. The next thing I would recommend you do, sit down with a real estate lawyer or an architect to find out what you have to do to create a parking space for yourself. That may be possible, but you need to get a permit to do that. So you need to spend some time with someone to give you some advice. Understood?
Yeah, but I wanted to say something before I go. That is not my intention, because I wanted to extend my house onto it. That's why I buy the lot. I buy the lot to do that.
Mr. Pickett, you didn't listen to me, Mr. Pickett. You didn't
listen to you, but
no. Let me repeat myself. Even to park on that lot temporarily, you need a permit. You need approval. And that requires you submit certain types of documents to the city of Philadelphia. You need the advice of a real estate professional to help you do that. So if you want to park on that vacant lot for 1 day, 1 year, or 10 years, you need approval to do that. Understood?
Even though it's my lot?
Yes, sir. Even though it's your lot, you have to get approval from the city of Philadelphia to create a parking space on that lot.
Well,
That's why
I
you
got a
got the
problem.
violation notice.
I don't know where to park my car. Sometimes I don't get no parking when I come home in the afternoon from my job.
Sir, I
drive
can't solve
don't
that
know.
problem. I can't solve that problem for you. I can only tell you what's required for you to comply with the violation. Okay? Because if you don't comply, you'll get additional penalties and fees and fines. You don't want that.
Yeah, I understand you. Yes, sir. I understand you. Yeah.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, Ms. Costello, any final?
No, Chairman Woodson, the city would rest their case.
Okay, Mr. Pickett, anything before we vote on this? No? Okay. I think that you need some time to work on this. And I just want to make sure I have the right place for this. Okay, we will now poll the board regarding HA-2022-001448, 221 West Wishart Street, Andrew Pickett. City affirmed with 120-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed with 120-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed with 120-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120-day stay of enforcement.
Now, Mr. Bishop, what we just did was to vote to affirm or to approve the city's violation notice that you received, but we've said to them they can't take any additional enforcement action for 120 days. So that gives you some time to get the support you need to make everything legal. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
you need to
Thank you.
call a broker or lawyer, someone to help you get this legal, okay?
Yes, sir.
Until you get it legal,
Thank you so much.
don't park in that spot. Thank you. Have a
Gotcha.
good afternoon.
Yeah, you too, sir.
Okay.
Chairman Woodson, I'd just like to move exhibits A through C into the record.
Yes, sorry about that. So moved.
Thank you.
Okay. What do we have next?
Give me one moment, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
With
Mr.
that,
Chair, do you want to excuse those folks?
Yes, they have Mr. Pickett, you can leave if you like. Your matter has been resolved.
Mr. Chair, I sent you a chat and a text.
Okay.
okay, so now we're good. That brings us to case number 28, hearing appeal number HA 2021-001337, 113 Berkeley, Allison Weiss.
Okay, Allison Weiss. And also, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. May it please the board, Leonard F. Reuter for the city of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reuter. And who's representing the appellant?
I am here, Allison Weiss, Solo
Okay.
Germantown Civic Association, and it's essentially a moot point.
Well, wait a minute, before you do all of that, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes,
Okay, and now, Ms. Weiss, what is your relationship to 113 Berkeley Street?
I represent the Solo Germantown Civic Association in our effort to preserve what was an individually designated historic building, part of the Wayne Junction Historic District.
Okay, it's Solo, it's a solo organization and incorporated as a not-for-profit?
We're a volunteer organization. We're a registered community organization with the city of
Okay.
Philadelphia.
we do have an issue of standing, Mr. Rogers. So what is your view of this?
Well, I think, thank you, Leonard Reuter for the city of Philadelphia. I think the initial issue here is this matter is actually moot.
Oh,
We
okay.
we don't challenge the standing of Ms. Weiss as an individual or Solo Germantown, which would need to be represented by counsel, but Ms. Weiss put her name on the appeal, so we're fine. We wouldn't. But the matter is moot. This was an appeal from the Historical Commission's approval of a permit to demolish the property at the location at 113 Berkeley, which was, as Ms. Weiss indicated, individually designated, and then also was part of the Wayne Junction Historic District, which was much more recently created. That approval was a couple years ago. When this appeal was filed, there was no concurrent request for a stay or nor did they seek an injunction. Actually, I don't remember. They may have asked for a stay, but it was denied. It would have been denied, and there was no request for an injunction at the Court of Common Pleas, and therefore the demolition proceeded. That property has been demolished and was demolished some time ago. So the issue before the board is, it's the city's position that the issue is moot. There isn't any property left to save.
Okay. Ms. Weiss, since this is your appeal, do you concur with the fact that this is a moot matter?
Well, yes, my reason for being present today is to request that in the future, this was from March of 2021. It is now May of 2023. This proceeding would have been much better had it preceded the demolition of the property.
Okay,
So,
but I'm not sure what is your request?
well, I'm hoping that the city could understand that these matters need to be prioritized,
Okay.
especially when a demolition is involved, because once it's gone, you can't put it back together again.
Yeah.
So it would appreciate that there would be some effort to prioritize something along this.
Ms. Weiss, this is not the forum for that. I appreciate your concern, and I'm certainly sympathetic, and I empathize with your position, and I'm a lover of historic buildings myself. But unfortunately, this board does not have the authority to do what you've asked. So it would require that you and your neighbors and Solo and others work together with the Historic Commission and the administration of the department to see if there's a change that needs to be made in procedure. So I would encourage you to do that.
Yes, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, again, I would just note for the record that since the board restarted hearings after they were you were initially shut down for COVID, the board did create a process by which an appellant could request an emergency hearing.
Yes.
And so there's that. And then also, given that Solo Germantown probably, at least as an RCO, would have been or should have been represented by an attorney, such an attorney would also have known that they would need to request a stay from the board, and probably just as a belt and suspenders to also concurrently seek an injunction from the court. But again, that didn't happen here, although all of those things were in fact available at the time. But again, like I said, the matter we believe is moot, and we would ask that the board just simply mark the appeal moot.
Okay.
May I?
So noted.
May I speak?
May
Well,
I?
no, not Ms. Weiss, Mr. Pincus.
May I comment? I happen to live not far from Germantown, so I'm familiar with the neighborhood, and I'm also involved with my local RCO. So an RCO doesn't necessarily have to have, it's not incorporated, doesn't have to be incorporated to be registered as an RCO. However, the emergency procedures were probably in place. So when you ask that there be something done in the future, I suggest, Ms. Weiss, that you become informed if you are involved with a matter that comes to the Historical Commission, that you become informed about the emergency request for an emergency hearing, should that be appropriate. And or if ever there's another matter that involves an appeal or some L&I permit or a zoning permit, that you become familiar with the emergency appeal process should you feel that there's some imminent danger to a property in your community.
Thank you very much. Ms. Weiss, we're going to move on to another case unless there's something else pressing.
Well, I thank you for the information.
Okay.
And I would just like to add that I was very surprised to receive this letter for this appeal because I had no idea that the appeal was even pending. So there seems to be some kind of miscommunication between the entities of how to be acknowledged that something is pending. So, and it's all a learning experience, and it's a learning experience in the most difficult ways.
Okay, well, we've tried to update our procedures and to accommodate all the strictures that COVID is enforced on. So we're working around it. But thank you for your participation.
I'm sorry, Chairman, just because I don't want Ms. Weiss to get any misunderstandings. It's the city's position and that the requirement for council extends beyond just corporations, because the issue is not a specific rule about corporations being represented, but because of the problem of unauthorized practice of law, a person can't appear before a board or tribunal without and represent some other person or entity without being licensed to practice law. So again, if Ms. Weiss appeared again before this board on behalf of Solo Germantown, the city would still ask that that the Solo Germantown be represented by council. We recognize that that RCAs don't always have to be incorporated, but even an unincorporated association, is our position that they would need to be represented by council. So
okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on. We've noted for the record that this is a moot matter.
I believe that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Have a happy afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Ms. Weiss. You excused.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Wade, what do we have next?
Case number 31, hearing appeal number HA 2021-005249, 541 North 23rd Street. The appellant was Daniel Bowen.
Okay.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Mary Costello on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, good afternoon, and I believe we have the appellant present. And that would be Ms. Clem, I think, Kathleen Clem. Ms. Clem, you're muted.
Apologize.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
I'm
you.
here, and Mr. Bowen, our contractor, I think is also on the phone. He said he had to step away, and I texted him that it's starting now, so I guess we can proceed.
Okay, I think Ms.
Mary,
Clem.
coming on now.
Okay, Ms. Clem, you were sworn earlier, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so you remain under oath?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Costello, do you have any witnesses?
I do. I have John Flanagan as a witness today.
Okay, Mr. Flanagan, if you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Clem, do you need this other person on the line before you proceed? Because we need to move ahead.
I understand. I did text him, and I expect him. I think he is here, Daniel Bowen.
He's on the hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
His video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand Mr. Bourne cannot speak unless you call him as a witness. Then he will have to be sworn in. Okay, so I expect not to hear from him unless you call him as a witness.
Okay, and I'll be able to make a statement.
You'll be able to participate, and that includes making statements, answering questions, and asking questions.
Okay, thank you so
But the
much.
city will put its case on first. It will interrogate its witness first. You will have an opportunity to answer, cross-examine that witness, after which you can tell us your side of things.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costello?
Members of the board, this matter involves deck plans that were approved by the Department of Licenses and Inspections and as well as the Philadelphia Historic Commission that did not include a pergola. So I would ask Mr. Flanagan, can you please state your name for the record?
John Flanagan.
And what is your position with L&I?
I am a construction plan review specialist.
And how long have you held that position?
I've had that position for about 4 years now.
And are you familiar with the property located at 541 North 23rd Street?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with that property?
I conducted the inspections up to a pre-final inspection, at which point it was handed off to a different district. And no inspections have been conducted since.
Okay, and Chairman Woodson, permission to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Inspector Flanagan, can you please identify for the record what's been marked as City Exhibit A?
It's a violation notice stating that the pergola was up there and there was not permission to do so.
And what was the date of the original inspection of this property?
The initial inspection?
Yes,
Of
per
this-
this violation notice.
Well, this violation notice was written after the last inspection was conducted.
Per this violation notice, though.
This violation notice was 11/4/21.
Okay, and what date were the corrections ordered to be made to this property?
Well, we went through a series of notifications for this, but we were hoping that it would be taken care of immediately.
Okay, and per this violation notice, what was the date that necessary repairs had to take place?
Well, before it was turned over to the litigation unit, it was about 105 days that we waited. And
Okay, and per this violation notice, the necessary repairs were to be made by December 8th, 2021, correct?
that is correct.
Okay, and can you just state for the record what violation is contained in this violation notice right here?
Okay, the work authorized exceeded the scope of work on the original permit. The permit did not call for a pergola on a roof deck.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to turn your attention to what's been marked as City Exhibit C. Can you please identify for the record here what we are looking at that's been marked as City Exhibit C?
It is a pergola constructed up on top of the newly built deck at that time.
Okay, and what date was that photograph taken?
This photograph was taken at 11/3/21. Oh, wait, no, that was an inspection thing. Oh no, that was 11/3/21.
Okay, thank you. And can you please identify for the record what we are looking at here?
We're looking at exactly the same condition.
Okay. And then finally, the most recent photographs, can you please identify what we're looking at right here?
This is a different view of the same. It's the deck on top of the roof deck, or the pergola on top of the roof deck.
And finally, what are we looking at here?
That's a front view. I can't see the bottom for the date information. It is, again, the last inspection I did not conduct, so that would be if we go back a little bit, that's the last photographs that were taken verifying that the condition still exists.
And those were taken on May 4th, 2023, correct?
That is
For the
correct.
record? Okay, for your review of the record. And what would the appellants have to do to comply these violations?
Well, I took the liberty of going to our own zoning section, and the only time a pergola shows up under the zoning regulations is what is not allowed up on a roof, or not on a roof, where the zoning says that we can put a pergola without permits or without zoning changes. And that's item 5 that says sheds, playhouses, pergolas, and similar structures in the rear yard and 120 square feet or less do not need zoning and or a permit. Everything else does.
So it's your testimony that they would need to obtain the proper zoning permit.
We get the zoning and then we would need a permit, because we do need to see how the engineer are going to suggest this thing is tied down to the deck.
And what are the concerns presently with having a pergola that has not been inspected?
Well, since we weren't up there and looking at it, I did go take the liberty again of going to some of the big box stores and looking at that particular style pergola. It's weighs in at around 250 pounds. We don't know how it's fastened down. I do know that the decking material is Trex type material, but I don't know where the fasteners are going to or what we did to facilitate holding that. If that cloth material is pulled over, we do get, depending on how strong the cloth material is, we could get some uplifting. And if the cloth material then deteriorates, somebody could put a lightweight roof structure up there because we've already approved it, and then the conditions get worse. So we need to know how it was fastened to the deck, the zoning, and then a permit to attach it there so that somebody can go up and inspect it.
And have any steps been taken today to comply these violations to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Inspector Flanagan.
And Ms. Clem, do you have any cross-examination?
I have a couple questions.
For Mr. Flanagan, we're speaking.
For Mr. Flanagan, if that's okay, then I would love to be heard as well.
Sure,
So
sure.
just so I understand your testimony, Mr. Flanagan, in November, Elle and I issued this violation. And you're aware that December 1st, we filed an appeal of the violation notice, right?
No, I did not see the appeal. No, I was not aware of the appeal.
Okay, so on December 15th, there was a second violation notice, but we had already filed an appeal and you're just not aware of that?
No, well, if the appeal wasn't granted, then the violation still exists.
Right. The appeal was listed as pending. Does that make sense?
Well, what we're looking for is that it was somebody made a decision on it and it was not decided on. So we continue with the process.
Got it. So, and are we waiting on this board to make that decision? Is that right? Is that your understanding?
Objection,
Ms. Clem,
Chairman Woodson.
Ms. Clem, I'm not sure where you're headed.
I'm just trying to understand the process here and where we are in the process.
Yeah, but that wasn't what he didn't testify about that, I don't think. His testimony had to do with the fact that the current structure exceeds the existing permits for the property. And for you to build a pergola on a rooftop, you require additional permits. I think that was his testimony.
Right. I'm just confused about the second notice because
Well, the notice isn't the issue that he testified about. So
okay.
we can
Okay. It
get
was
to
just
that
one of the
another way.
exhibits. I was just trying to understand.
Okay, we'll get to that another way. Any other questions for Mr. Flanagan?
I just want to make sure I understand, like, are you saying that pergola on the roof deck could never be permitted? Or are you saying it would need to be inspected to be permitted?
No, what I was saying was we first go to zoning and they decide, is it safe to put one up there or not? And at that point, if they say yes, go ahead and do it. Then you have the ability to submit for a permit to place it there. And that permit would ensure to us, we would all feel safe and sleep better at night knowing that that thing will never come off that roof deck.
Right. Okay.
But if I understand your testimony, Mr. Flanagan, if the application for the pergola was submitted to the Department of Licenses and Inspection, it would first have a review by the zoning unit. And based on your reference to the zoning code, it's quite possible that that pergola would not be permitted because you stated that the only pergola that is permitted under the provisions of the code that you read would be in the backyard. So this would then arguably require a variance be obtained to approve that pergola. Is that correct, Mr. Flanagan?
That is correct. So in the proper steps that we would take, that application would be made. If the review of that was denied, it allows you then to come to a review board and ask for an exception to that decision.
A variance to the zoning code.
That is correct.
That would be a zoning appeal.
That would be a zoning appeal. And that would clear the way for a permit to be issued.
Thank you.
If it went in the favor of.
Any additional questions, Ms. Clem?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Costello, any additional witnesses?
No further witnesses, Chairman Woodson.
Okay. Ms. Clem, your opportunity to share with us what you understand happened.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, but before I proceed, Ms. Clem, just want to clarify something. Is your name the only name on the deed to this property?
No, my husband, Thomas Clem, is also on the property.
Okay, you don't need two names on it?
Correct.
Okay. I don't believe we have a standing issue, do we, Mr. McSherry? You're muted, sir.
My apologies. No, sir. No.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Clem, please proceed.
So please forgive me. This is my first time dealing with any of this, and certainly my first time as a homeowner undergoing any construction. So I'm learning as I go, and I appreciate your kindness. So when we put up this roof deck, we were looking for some kind of shade because we are in a very exposed open area. And we thought a pergola that was not kind of built-in pergola, but rather a commercially bought one would be permissible. Actually more favorable to our neighbors than a giant umbrella or something else large that would be like bolted to the deck. So we were trying to find a solution that was the least obtrusive, the most safe for our neighbors, the least likely to be objectionable. So it's bolted into the railing at this point. And we're just trying to figure out a way to kind of safely have shade up on our roof deck. We did, as soon as we got the violation notice, filed the appeal to try to figure out how to get to a hearing so that we could plead our case. This is also a big financial burden for us. We refinanced our house to put on this roof deck. And so I just, I'm not sure what the next step would be for this body in terms of us having this pergola up or what it would cost to take it down. But we are hoping that we can figure something out because we do want to have some kind of safe shade up there. It is a commercial unit. It doesn't take up the full footprint of the deck. And so we were thinking of it more like an umbrella or some other kind of commercial thing that we could buy and affix to the deck.
Okay. Ms. Clem, we have several questions. I'm sure others will as well.
Sure.
Do you have any witnesses that you want to call?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I've said everything.
Okay. Well, then the question to you is this, is the area where this property is located a historic district?
It is.
Okay. The improvements that you made to the building, the exterior improvements in particular, were they approved by the Historic Commission?
The deck was approved.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
the deck was fully approved. Yeah.
Yes. Now, did the deck come with a pergola when you submitted it for approval?
No.
Okay. Why didn't you even do that at the time?
I didn't submit any of the paperwork for approval. I wasn't aware that we would need to put in a separate approval or that it would be part of the approval. Again, we saw this as like a kind of a commercial.
Wait. You just said that you did submit someone on your behalf. Submitted
on my
an
behalf.
application for, okay. And I'm
Precision
asking,
Decks did that on my behalf.
okay,
Correct.
why didn't they include the pergola, which would be clearly identified on your plans? Why didn't you do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So-
I think we thought it wasn't necessary because it wasn't a built-in pergola.
Okay, but it is a physical structure on your roof.
Correct.
Okay. The second thing, when you got the violation notices, did you consult with any architects or engineers or anyone about how to comply with the violation?
I contacted Precision Decks to figure out what the next step is, because this is again my first time experiencing anything like this, and they suggested that I file an appeal, and so they actually filed it on my behalf on December 1st. They put in the appeal paperwork.
Okay, but you haven't spoken with the plans examiner or anyone else regarding what would be required to comply with the violation?
No, sir.
Okay, so no conversations with the Flanagan or anyone else like that?
With who?
Mr. Flanagan, who testified earlier.
Oh, no, because my understanding was that Precision Decks had filed the appeal and we were waiting to have the opportunity for a hearing.
Okay, And you understand the role of this board is to hear the evidence presented by the city, hear in response that you may have, and we're required by code to defer to the city's decision. If they follow all of their procedures, then in fact, we defer to their decision in this matter. You understand that, right? We're not a board to mitigate and negotiate solutions.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the board's process and I apologize. This is all, again, new to me.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
I just want to make sure that Ms. Clem, did you hear the testimony of Mr. Inspector Flanagan and what he stated was the violation and what was required to address the violation? Did you hear him clearly?
I'm taking, yeah, well, I'm taking notes and it looks like Mr. Bowen, is he wanting to speak?
Can I speak?
No. You can speak if I asked her, that's why I asked you earlier, Ms. Clem, if you were going to call somebody as a witness. If you want somebody to be a witness, you can certainly call him and we'll put him on the record. Because this is a formal hearing process. So everyone who speaks must be on the record and must be identified.
Okay, yeah, if he has something to add, I'm happy to call him as a witness.
Okay, wait a minute, before we do that, Mr. Pincus, are you complete with your line of questioning or do you want to?
Well, no, I just want to make sure that you perhaps need to consult with an attorney because what the inspector has said is that the pergola that you constructed was not part of the approval, was not part of your application. And therefore, you would need to revise your application to include the pergola, and that might trigger an additional requirement that you obtain a zoning variance. And if that's the case, frequently, it may be appropriate for you to consult an attorney who has experience in zoning matters or an architect who has experience in zoning matters, because the pergola was not approved in your plans and you put it in, notwithstanding the fact that it was never submitted or approved by the department. And so your appeal to this board involves whether or not you've done something in violation of the city code. And I just want to make sure you understand what you did is put on a pergola without the necessary approval. That's what we're here to hear today.
Right.
You're welcome to ask Mr. Bowen if he wants to have any additional testimony on this matter.
Okay. Now, Ms. Clem, are you calling Mr. Bowen to be a witness on your behalf?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he wants to add, but I'm certainly happy.
Well, that's your risk. If you call in a witness, you don't know what he's going to say. It's your risk if you want him to say something.
Yeah, I'll call him. I'll call him. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr.
Sir,
Bowen.
would you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, my name's Daniel Bowen. I'm the owner of Precision Decks and Remodeling.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn in? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give at this time be the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then you place your hand down. The one final preliminary matter, are you coming today to testify on behalf of Ms. Kathleen Kramer Clem?
Yes, I am. I have some information on previous zoning.
Okay, wait a minute.
We've done.
Wait,
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
You will also be cross-examined by Ms. Mary Costello, who's the attorney for the city, once Ms. Clem solicits the information that she needs. Okay, Ms. Clem, your witness is available to you.
Okay. Is there anything that I stated that that you would like to add on to clarify to the board about our process?
Sure. So I would just like to say up front that yes, there is a process to get a pergola approved through zoning and through the eventual building application, which our engineer is a part of because he approves all the connections on site for any inspections that are clarified on a building permit for any structure. So basically this pergola was not permitted, but it's a store-bought lightweight pergola. It is bolted into the railing system. It's not something standard that we do. I realize there's a process to get approvals for a pergola, and it may require a variance, application, and zoning, and then approval for building. And that's up to Kathleen if she wants to go through that process to further get final approvals from the city. That's all really I want to say. We do have our own professionals that know how to get her through that process. I have an engineer, an architect, and an office manager, and we're very familiar with the process.
Ms. Costello, do you have any cross-examination?
I do not have any further questions for Mr. Bowen, but I do have further questions for Ms. Clem.
Okay, before you move on to Ms. Clem, I want to ask Mr. Bowen a question. Mr. Bowen, did your company install this pergola at this location?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and how was it attached? Can you describe that to the deck?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it was integrated into the railing system with normal fasteners that our engineer approves for a lot of our roof decks, and the bottom of the posts that are the structure of the pergola, the strength of the pergola is bolted into the framing structure of the deck.
Okay, do you have architectural engineering details for that fastening?
My engineer would be the one who would give details of that fastening, and he does that often with our pergolas, roof decks, etc. He approves all those connections. They always go on the plans, and he always inspects on site. So yeah, he'd be willing to give a letter of approval
No,
on
no,
the
I'm asking a different question. I'm asking, did he give you a detailed plan, stamp plan with his seal on it that shows how it's to be constructed?
He did not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
He did not.
Okay. All right,
No, we
thank you.
just had a phone conversation. This was a little bit more of a casual matter because it's not a normal pergola that we would build.
Okay.
Most of the pergolas we build are a little bit more intense and commercially produced.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costello, you said you had some questions for Ms. Clem.
I do. Good afternoon, Ms. Clem. Previously, you stated that the property is located within the Philadelphia Historic District, correct?
Yes.
So any approval of a pergola you would need to go before the Historical Commission, correct?
Okay, yes.
Okay, and you did go before the Historical Commission previously, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you sought to legalize the pergola through the Philadelphia Historical Commission, they denied that approval, correct?
Correct. That was in, right, yes. Yes.
Okay, and you haven't appealed that denial from the Historical Commission, correct?
That's correct. I reached out to the Precision Decks folks and we said, well, let's see how the LNI appeal plays out. So we hadn't appealed the historic district.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question to Mr.
Sure.
Bowen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowen, when you found out in December 2021 that there was violations on the deck and the pergola, what corrections did you make? The reason I'm asking you that question because it was on December the 16th, 2021, it was a letter, a final violation notice addressed to you with the violations on it. And what did you do to correct that? Mr. Bowen?
We didn't do anything to correct that. We weren't instructed to do anything at that point. We were just waiting for the due process, hoping that they would give an approval. So nothing was done.
I'm saying when you received the notice of violations, you did nothing, correct?
We did not do anything, no, but we didn't get the violation. I think
I'm looking at a letter that was mailed to you.
Okay, yes. Yeah, no, we did not do anything at that point, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Kramer, Ms. Clem, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I could just add something on that point, because we were surprised when we got a second violation in December because we had already filed the appeal December 1st. And so Mr. Bowen's secretary or aide, her name's Chelsea, did reach out and say to the construction.centralwest@phila.gov email address to say, hey, we just got this violation. We're not sure what this is about because this is an appeal. And somebody named Joseph Spinks wrote back and said, good afternoon. I was able to locate your appeal request form. I will make a note on the case file that an official appeal has been submitted. In the districts, we hold off on processing of any enforcement. Any questions pertaining to this appeal should be directed to boardsadmin@phila.gov. Thank you, Joseph Spinks, Construction Supervisor, Central West Department of License and Inspection. So they did, Dan probably didn't do it. His assistant Chelsea did reach out to say, wait, why are we getting the second notice? And they said, oh yeah, we're not enforcing that.
Well, the issue is, I think the issue though is why not take corrective action regarding the violation? That's the issue. And that's what Mr. Washington was asking.
Okay, I understand. And that we thought we would come to before this board to request relief.
No, Mr. Bowen has been in the construction business, I think, for a while. That isn't how you normally correct a violation.
Okay.
And I guess I have another question because Ms. Costello brought out and you testified that you did take and seek approval for the pergola from the Historical Commission and they denied it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so when they denied it, you had the right to appeal the decision of the Historical Commission, but you didn't appeal that decision. You just went ahead with the pergola. Was the pergola already installed at the time that the Historical Commission considered the matter?
Yes.
It was installed before you went to the Historical Commission.
Correct. And this is
Okay.
where, yeah, I reached out to
So you didn't receive, you installed that without approval of the Historical Commission as well?
correct. I had no idea it would need to be approved through the Historical Commission. Again, we were thinking of it more like an umbrella or something else that you were just kind of, is it commercial unit for shade?
Well, I guess why wouldn't they have to approve? They had to approve everything else. I mean, it's a historic district. Everything has to be approved.
I understand what you're saying, Chairman Woodson. A lot of these approvals, I was kind of following the lead and not understanding what the correct next steps were.
May I follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
On, you had submitted the plans to the license and inspection and to the commission, Historical Commission, without the pergola on there. And when you changed the plans, you didn't feel as though that you needed to notify L&I and the Historical Commission of the new plans?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
saying I didn't know that we would need to. That's what I'm trying to explain. I didn't know that the pergola was something that would also need an approval because, like I said, we thought of it as, you know, like putting up an umbrella or something like that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So when you received the notice telling you that you needed to do that, what did you do?
I reached out to Precision Dex and then they said, well, we can file it. Don't worry, we can file an appeal. And they said, we will put it in an appeal on your behalf. And so December 1st, they did file that appeal paperwork. And then when we got the second violation, I said to them, hey, there's another violation here. And they sent an email. That's when the email that I just read into the record is like that email where we sent over to L&I saying, hey, we just got a second violation. And they said, okay, we did find that your appeal and that we would hold off on processing any enforcement until the appeal is resolved.
Okay, but still, they would hold off on the enforcement, but you knew that you needed to do new plans. They held off not enforcing, and you did nothing to fix this so that in the future, I'm assuming, you wouldn't have to do, I mean, you wouldn't still be responsible. You did absolutely nothing from what I'm looking at, from November the 4th, 2021 to this date.
Right, I filed an appeal on December 1st, 2021, or on Precision Dex filed an appeal on my behalf on December 1st, 2021, and we were just waiting for a hearing. And so I didn't know that it would take until 2023 to get to a hearing. We were just—
And when did Historical Society deny your appeal?
I don't know if I have that date in front of me. I think sometime in 2022, but I would have to go back.
So when your appeal was denied in 2022, you
From
still
the
did nothing.
historical. Because I didn't understand that, I didn't understand that, I thought I had to wait for this hearing. I kind of reached out to President Jackson, they said, well, we're still waiting on a hearing from the, from like the zoning board, I mean, not the zoning board, like this board, we're still waiting on a hearing. And so I was like, I don't know what else to do. We'll just wait for the hearing.
And Mr. Bowen did not inform you that you need to still respond to the historical commission who denied your appeal?
No.
Okay. No more questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Flanagan, Mr. Costello, I do have one follow-up for Mr. Flanagan. Mr. Flanagan, I just for the record, to comply the current violation notices, that include disassembling the pergola? Is that basically it?
Well, since the violations were written, we've transferred and shuffled the deck a few times with respect to where everybody is. I think that decision's left best to the supervisor of that district, which I'm no longer associated with.
Oh, okay. I need to, Ms. Costello, you may need to help me on this question.
Yeah, Chairman Woodson, just one further question, Inspector Flanagan. You stated previously that to comply the violations, they would need to obtain a permit. In the alternative, would taking the pergola down comply the violations?
Yes, it would.
Okay, that's what I need to understand. Thank you so much. Okay, anything from anyone else? Okay, Ms. Clem, do you have any final comments to make before we make a decision?
No, thank you for taking the time to hear.
Okay, Ms. Costello, do you have any final argument?
I do, Chairman Woodson.
Yes, please.
I would just say you heard testimony from Inspector Flanagan about the violation notice, which was issued on November 4th, 2021. There has been no efforts to comply the violations since that date. You've heard testimony that they would either need to take the pergola down or obtain approvals from both the Philadelphia Historical Commission and from zoning, and that neither of those have taken place. You heard testimony from Ms. Clem herself that she did try to obtain approval for the pergola through the Philadelphia Historical Commission, and that was denied. Additionally, at no point in the appeal has she contested the existence of the violations themselves. We would ask that based on that, you grant city affirm for this matter.
Okay, thank you. We will poll the board on HA-2021-005-249 541 North 23rd Street. Daniel Bourne is listed as the appellant. Mrs. Clem is the owner. City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
I don't see Mr. Tennant. I apologize. City affirmed.
City affirmed. Okay, thank you very much.
City affirmed.
City affirmed. Thank you very much. The city, the unanimous vote of the board is that the city's position holds. Ms. Clem, your appeal has failed. You may appeal the decision of this board if you choose to. If you need information as to how to do that, you can call the administrator's office and they can give you information, or you may want to consult legal counsel.
Can I ask a question? If we do take down the pergola, it sounds like that's the order now at this point is to take down the pergola. Can I have like some time to get them out to do that? Like, can I?
What you need to do is to call the inspector, call the district office and work out with them the compliance process, okay?
Who is that? Who am I calling?
The West Philadelphia District, whatever district office is managing this, it communicated with you earlier.
Okay, the Central West Department of Licensing Inspections?
Yes, call them regarding compliance.
Okay, how long do I have to comply?
I have no idea. This is the appeal board, so you
Yeah.
need to talk to them in terms of the administrative process for inspections and compliance and that sort of thing, okay?
Okay.
Or you can also follow Ms. Costello, who's the attorney representing the city.
Okay.
Okay? All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
And Chairman Whitson, I would just move to enter exhibits A through city exhibits A through C into the record.
So admitted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Have a good afternoon.
okay, thank you.
Case number 35. Case number 35, hearing appeal number HA 2021 004489. 1508 West Nedro Ave, Pierre Gaston.
Okay, Mr. Gaston, and who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Mary Costello on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, Mr. Gaston, I know he was on earlier. Mr. Gaston, you present?
Yes, good afternoon. I had to switch to my iPhone, so hopefully.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you get today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, before we proceed in this, Ms. Costello, we observed the issue of timeliness. So I don't know if that's something that you prepared to argue or not, but Mr. Gordon, you submitted your appeal nearly 5 months after the initial violation notice. What happened?
I don't reside in Philadelphia. Once I received notification of the violation, I acted as quickly as I could. And that is the delay, sir.
Well, when did you get the notice?
This is in 2021, so to give you a date, it wouldn't be inaccurate.
Well, you got to give us something, because not giving me an accurate date is not going to help your case today.
I mean, as soon as I received the notification I had a tenant residing there, I responded as soon as I could.
Where do you live?
I reside in Florida, Plantation, Florida.
Okay. And this is an investment property?
I had been living at the property as a tenant, pardon me, from 2006 to 2011. And I bought the property in 2011 and I moved in 2019.
So I'll ask you again, is this an investment property?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To answer the question.
Okay. Who's your management agent here in Philadelphia?
But I was taking care of everything at long distance.
Okay, you have a rental license?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right. This is a matter, we aren't going to hear this. This is for timeliness, etc. But before let me stop. Ms. Costello, what is your position? What is your review of this?
Chairman Woodson, our position would be that this appeal was filed untimely. It was filed 5 months after the initial violation notices were sent. They were sent to the address associated with the OPA account, and it would be the appellant's duty to update that with the city.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gaston, I'm going to dismiss this because you failed to submit a timely appeal. You also required to have a rental license. You're also required to have a local agent if you're going to live out of town, if you own property in Philadelphia. So you aren't in compliance in any regard. So you need to go back. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my reason wasn't to contest the fine. I am definitely admitting to the fine. I had addressed the issues, is what I'm saying. Like they're saying that the fines on the property had not been addressed, and they have all been addressed. It's the only.
Okay, you have to call the inspector and work that out. But in the meantime, you have some other violations by virtue of your testimony. But we're not going to hear this appeal today. It's dismissed.
Okay.
Okay. And I just recommendation to you, sir, that you get in touch with a real estate professional to help you figure out how to set this whole thing up.
No, it's no longer investment property because of this issue. That's my intention wasn't for it to be that, but it's no longer that. I just want to address the fines that were on. But
Okay,
they said
that's where we are today.
Right.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Ms. Costello, anything?
No, nothing further, Chairman Woodson from the city.
Okay. Have a good afternoon. Ms. Stone, that's it for today.
No, there's one.
We have one more?
One last case.
Okay.
This is
Ms.
case
Gaston, I
number-
just want to say, Ms. Gaston, you may be dismissed. You don't have to hang around if you don't want to.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Woodson.
Okay, have a good afternoon.
The last case, case number 40, hearing appeal number HA 2022 000157 6150 Lebanon Ave, Igor Andreluja. Aye.
Okay. Who's representing the city in this matter?
Did you unmute?
Just 1 second. I'm not, no one speaking yet. Ms. Costello, is that your case? You muted, yes.
No, Chairman Woodson, my final case was case number 35.
Okay, so just the attorney from G&T Law, just stand tight, just remember.
Hi, William Thompson, representing Igor Andruska.
Okay, thank you. I need to find your counterpart, so just give me a moment.
Go ahead, sir. That's not a problem. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Costello, I may need your help to find whoever's supposed to be representing this matter.
One moment, Chairman Woodson.
Ладно, я сейчас, короче, отключусь.
Okay,
Не знаю.
is no one else available?
Ладно, мне надо идти. Я иду наверх. Давай, bye.
Mr. Negruska, if you would mute yourself,
got
the
it.
conversation is coming through.
I got it.
Hello.
Ms. Costello, any luck?
One moment, Chairman Woodson, I'm putting, there's no further matters today, correct?
We have this one matter that's we're still
This is
open,
one matter,
number 40.
okay. I'm
That's what
just
we-
waiting on the attorney, this is Attorney Cohen's matter.
I believe this is going to be moot and withdrawn anyway, so.
It may
we don't
be,
have to
but
torture ourselves.
Here comes Mr. Cohen now.
yeah, but we have to have the city's.
Okay,
lawyer
that's
present.
okay. I just didn't want to start any problem.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cohen, are you muted?
Sorry, I apologize very profusely. I didn't realize when I logged off earlier that case was pending. If you'll excuse me, I'm just going to pull up some info.
Okay, let me have Mr. Wade read it in. If you haven't done that, let's officially open this.
This is case number 40, hearing appeal number HA 2022-000157-6150 Lebanon Ave, Igor Andruska.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cohen, are you prepared to move forward with this?
Actually, the city would request a continuance of this matter just to make sure it can have its witness available.
Okay,
I
now
apologize for not asking about this sooner. It didn't occur to me during the continuances portion earlier in the hearing.
okay, before we do that, sir, from G&T Law, would you give us your name again?
William Thompson, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
William Thompson, on
Yes,
behalf
sir.
of the appellant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Thompson indicated earlier that there may be this may be moot. Mr. Thompson, are you
Yes, sir.
prepared to put that on the record and it may resolve matters? Mr. Cohen,
Yes,
you
Your
okay
Honor.
with that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I can just put a statement on the record, I think maybe this can be just resolved. Mr. Andruska originally did file the appeal, and when he did file the appeal, he then understood later, because when he bought the property, it was being used as 4 units. He understood what the problem was. He went to get the appeal, and then what he found out later was that he had a tax clearance problem. He solved that problem. He has since made a request for a permit. So I think the thing in front of the board now is moot because the permit's now pending, and depending on what comes out of the permit, whether he'll need to file a variance and, zoning hearing board, issue, he'll do that. But as far as what's in front of the board, he's not going to challenge that at this point because he's already filed the permit.
Okay.
Well, I think there is a difference between a permit application and an issued permit, especially if there needs to be a ZBA appeal to get a variance. That said, even if there is a permit application pending, if we're talking about the number of units in a building, that can also be physically reduced back down to a certain number by the removal of certain features. That said, in either case, I think it would behoove us to have an L&I inspector come back out.
Okay.
Because
let's
either
do
there's
this.
going to be a permit that the LNI inspector would need to double check, or there's going to be the removal of features, which the LNI inspector would double check. So granting us continuance would actually help facilitate that. And I can provide you with my contact info, Mr. Thompson, so that we can stay in touch about this matter.
Okay, that sounds great.
So
I'll
we'll
put it in the
continue
chat.
this matter then. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I'm not sure Mr. Thompson really understands this process that this is an appeal because presently the LNI went out and units in the property, and that's one more than is legally permitted. You said your client has applied to obtain approval for 4 units. Until 4 units are approved, it's illegal to have 4 units in the property. And in order to have 4 units, a zoning approval is required. And that could take, again, some months. Mr. Cohen is well aware of that process. We're aware of that process. It could take maybe even a year. In the meantime, the property is in violation of the code as long as it has 4 units. So I just want to make sure you understand that. Either a unit has to be removed, and if it's not removed, it hasn't been approved.
Yeah, he understands that. He's not using the 4th unit at this point.
I'm not sure that's adequate to comply with LNI's requirements, but that's something an inspector would go out and determine.
And that's why I think Mr. Khan has a great suggestion.
Okay, thank you. So we'll continue this matter so that
Thank you, members of
inspection
the
can
board.
be handled and can be rescheduled. Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Thompson, if you can email me your contact info so I can have it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I'd be glad to. Thanks for the
Thank you.
advice.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson, yeah, your name is on the list. Okay, thank you
Just
so
for,
much.
Thank you very much.
Board Chair, just
Yes,
for a
sir.
minute. This was Mark Must Be Tried for the next hearing about how long a time frame, and do you want it Mark Must Be Tried again?
Oh, okay, this matter was marked must be tried?
Yes. But
Oh,
that was, it was continued for council.
okay.
Council's been obtained.
okay.
Now this is a city's continuance. I just wanted to know how long you wanted it to be continued.
Okay, Mr. Cohen, what are we talking about time-wise here?
I think 60 days would be at least enough time to get an LNI inspector in there.
Okay.
Not with the understanding that's not an appropriate time frame to go to the zoning board, but at the very least to see the physical insides of the property.
Okay,
I'm gonna put this on August 15th.
okay. Mr. Thompson, you understand where we are?
Yes, I am. I do. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
members
you
of
for
the
your
board.
Thank you.
participation. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we're going to close this hearing for today. Rob, we're finished.